Good morning, 5 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We've got a gorgeous day ahead. Partly sunny, hazy today, some low humidity, and our high going to 90 degrees. Now, Saturday is cloudy, scattered showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon, our high 88. Then Sunday, cloudy. Get this, our high is only 80 degrees on Sunday. In the news, we've had so much rain lately that the drought conditions in Middle Tennessee are dramatically improved. We picked up 6.59 inches of rain in July. The average is 4.04. There are new warnings being issued to operators of water utilities around the country after dozens of cyber attacks targeted water systems in Minnesota earlier this week. Sources tell ABC News those attacks may be linked to Iran.
Water utilities in at least 7 states have reported incidents. Officials say the hackers are targeting programmable controllers and are modifying passwords to lock out operators. The hack in Minnesota did not cause any water safety issues, but one town did have to provide residents with water from a storage tank after hackers shut down normal water flows.
That's ABC's Andrea Fujii. A lot of drivers sat in an hours-long backup on Interstate 24 north of Nashville yesterday. This was due to an accident that shut down the westbound lanes for hours. Here's News 2's Bob Mueller.
Metro Police say an initial accident involved a semi overturning. The woman who died failed to react in time to the slowed traffic and smashed into another semi in front of her. She was pronounced dead at the scene.
Now, that woman who died has been identified as 29-year-old Madeline Mitchell of Clarksville. The closure stretched from around 10 o'clock yesterday morning until 6:30 last night. Money News brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
The major Wall Street indexes rallied in Thursday trading, lifted partly by better than expected earnings news from chip makers and Microsoft. The Dow up 614 points at closing. The S&P 500 gained 122 points, making back much of Wednesday's losses. And the Nasdaq rose 679 points. Facebook and Instagram parent company shares fell 9% on weak profit reports, despite beating revenue expectations. Amazon has won federal approval to charge customers for rides in its Zoox robot taxis. The fully autonomous vehicles will still need to get state and local approvals. Zoox have been giving free rides in San Francisco and Los Angeles since last year. Taco Bell parent company Yum Brand says customers are gradually returning after shredded lettuce in some of the chain's items were linked to the cyclospora outbreak nationwide. In Thursday's second quarter earnings, Yum CFO said the recovery has been steady since the cyclospora link was announced in mid-July. Wayne Cabot, ABC News.
And Dow futures right now plus 263. The Nasdaq futures are up more than 300. S&P futures, they're gaining 33. That's the latest news. Stick around. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Got a pretty clear traffic map this morning. I see no delays on the major roadways heading into Nashville. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.506 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. Hope you are doing well, and welcome on into a Friday. Do you know, Joan, I actually almost called it Monday.
Oh, why would you do that?
You know what? I don't know. I'm a little discombobulated today. A couple of things have happened.
Okay.
Just today?
Well, anyway. Number one, I forgot my all-important bag at home this morning, so that's number one. So I'm a little discombobulated there, but also just some behind-the-scenes tomfoolery is taking place because Sam and I are in an epic battle of who's right.
Oh, man.
So,
all right, lay it out.
All right, so no doubt, and we're gonna let Joan or Joan Jane be the
Joan Shingang.
Be the arbiter of who is right here. But have you seen what's going on the tip of Morocco at this territory of Spain?
I cannot, it's crazy.
So we're trying to figure out the pronunciation, right? So I'm going to get into the story here in a second. But Sam says it is Ceuta, and I say it is Ceuta. Now, it's pronounced, or I should say it's spelled Ceuta. Ceuta, Spain. I'm saying Ceuta. He is saying it's TH. I really don't care either way. But what is the official pronunciation from the newsroom?
Ceuta.
Ceuta. Okay, so Joan's right. And
Yeah, if
that
you're
means
speaking
that-
Latin American Spanish, by all means. It's
whatever.
It's
Just
Ceuta
stop
if you're
it.
speaking European Spanish, which...
Have you ever noticed, Jonah, there's a theme going on here. Sam has got to be right at all times.
Yes.
He's always got to be right, which is fine, Sam. That's fine. By the way, Sam asking to join. We're trying to get everything all set up here. There's some computer issues behind the scenes.
Permission denied.
If you follow me on X at Dan Manda Show, you will see what is happening to this little. It's like a territory of Spain. It's on the tip of Morocco, and yesterday we saw. I'm seeing numbers anywhere, Joan, between 40 and 80,000 Moroccans swimming onto the shore of this Ceuta, or storming across the border, and it looks like Bill Malusian posted yesterday. And by the way, these are fighting age males.
Men. No women.
No women. No
kids.
children. Fighting age males. All of these Moroccans. And they're basically storming to take over Ceuta. And if I lived in Ceuta, I would be horrified. Now, apparently, one of the things that I noticed, and I believe now that we have audio, I'm going to play a little bit of Fox News here. Audio and video, Sam, make sure that is up.
Here, chaos at the border of Spain's North African enclave in Morocco. This is a city called Ceuta. You're watching as thousands of migrants break through the fence and completely overwhelm the border police. Their video showing huge groups of people, mostly young military-age guys.
I love it. This is Fox News when they point out the same thing that we point out. Young military-aged men. Now, are they Islam? Are they Muslim? That's what I want to know. What is the main religion, or whatever you want to call it, out there in Morocco?
That would be Islam.
Is it Islam, Joan?
Main
83,000.
Northern Morocco, right?
83. It would be northern. Well, I don't know if it's north. I know that northern Morocco is right next
Sunni
to Ceuta.
Islam.
Sunni Islam.
99% of the population identifies as Muslim.
So Ceuta has fallen clearly. Bill Malusian said this is exactly what we saw on the on our southern border,
yes,
when all those Haitians came into our country,
Yep.
and the Biden administration didn't do jack. So
You mean the Haitians that are the ones who are caring for our elderly and operating businesses in Ohio and
eating the
they're
cats and the dogs.
contributing- Yes, and
Doing
but
all
they're
that stuff.
contributing to our economy, and they're a very vital part. I actually saw a video of a Haitian woman this week saying that the Haitians built the United States.
Okay, well, that's just dumb.
Yeah.
You know what?
Look, people forget George Washington was actually Haitian.
And he was trans. By the way, don't
Yeah.
forget, he was a Haitian trans.
Why else did he need those wooden teeth?
That's
Right.
exactly right.
Cramming into inflatable tubes or arriving on shore another way, some of them waiting in the water as they break through the gates to.
Now, you are talking about in Ceuta, you're talking about, I don't know, again, somewhere between 40 and 80,000 military-aged Muslim males taking this area over. Now, it is important to note that Morocco actually, this is a disputed territory. Spain basically says it's theirs, but they border Morocco, and so it's very easy for Morocco to, or these Moroccans, to be able to take this over. But, clearly this is something where something has triggered this, and I don't know exactly what it is, but it was like all in one day, suddenly you had all of these Moroccans taking over this little territory where about 83,000 people live. One of the things I thought was interesting is the people in Spain, the government in Spain, they didn't want to send in the military. This was yesterday, as all of this was going on, and this was like exploding yesterday on social media, where you have these incredible images of thousands of people storming this Spanish territory. You had the government of Spain saying, no, we're not going to send in the military for an immigration problem. This is a Muslim takeover. This is not an immigration problem. At least that's what I'm assuming. That is what I'm assuming, with a bunch of young fighting-aged males coming over, the border. And so overnight, I don't know if you saw this, Joan, but you have these Moroccans that are trying to break into people's homes.
Ugh.
They're torching cars. Now, I don't know if anybody has been, killed, but, from the Daily Mail, the tiny African enclave endured a night of chaos with cars torched, migrants forcing their way into buildings after the unprecedented influx yesterday. Extraordinary footage showed huge numbers of people sprinting up beaches, swimming ashore, and dispersing into the streets of the tiny Spanish territory, which borders Morocco, with some shouting, "Long live Spain." In an escalation of the crisis this morning, Italy's government said it was considering extraordinary measures, including closing the open border Schengen agreement with Spain. All right, now somebody's going to have to explain to me. I seem to the Schengen. In other words, you know what the Schengen agreement is, and I may be mispronouncing that. If I'm not mistaken, that is where people can just cross borders around in Europe. They could just cross the border, and you don't need necessarily a passport. I think that's what that is. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni said the images coming from Ceuta are striking and demonstrate once again that uncontrolled illegal immigration poses a concrete threat to the security of Europe's borders, and France said it will tighten its borders with Spain, with the Interior Minister giving instructions to immediately step up controls where the two countries meet. So you're going to have all of these other European countries that are going to start tightening their borders because, they've already learned. Remember when the whole Syrian refugee crisis happened years ago, and Europe was overrun with not only Syrian refugees but all these other refugees as well, and that of course led to the downfall of Europe, particularly places like Germany, the UK. It goes on and on. So they've learned. So now you've got France and Italy and some of these other nations saying, okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to protect our borders because of these marauding Moroccans that are apparently going to try to get into the EU. The president of Ceuta, Juan Jesus Vivas, declared a total humanitarian and social emergency and called for changes to Spain's immigration framework, saying legal shortcomings exposed by a recent Supreme Court ruling need to be addressed. And it goes on and on. Let me see if I can find out. So let me play more of this Fox News.
Get to the other side. Sandra, this is reminiscent of kind of what we saw during the open border during the Biden administration through 2021, 2024, kind of similar to what we saw in Del Rio back in 2021. The socialist agenda, their platform literally says they want to abolish borders, abolish immigration enforcement, have complete freedom of movement. This is what it looks like in another country if they get what they want. Notice.
Yep. I mean, he's right. And that's one of the things that people were talking about yesterday online, of course, was that this is what our country will look like, would have looked like under another Biden administration. And this is what it also would have looked like if, and will look like if the Democrats end up in power again. You know, one of the things as I was watching all of this happen was, you know what? I mean, I'm sorry for the people of Ceuta, but I think it's a good thing in the sense that we all need to be reminded of what happened during the Biden administration. Because don't think that even though we have really strong borders right now, don't think that it can't change in a heartbeat, in an instant, if the Democrats and their socialists get into power again. So, I mean, this is one of those things where it could get really bad. The military is apparently going to be going in as well. Earlier this month, the Supreme Court ruled that migrants intercepted at sea while attempting to reach Ceuta or Melilla cannot be summarily returned under the enclave's special border rejection regime. All right, so you see what's going on. It's basically catch and release where they are. So they apparently had a Supreme Court, and I'm just learning about all this with you. They had a Supreme Court ruling there. I'm assuming this was in Spain. And Spain said no. So if people come into our country, they are allowed to come in. They can't be turned back around. So essentially, this is catch and release in Spain. And so that opened the door because Ceuta is a Spanish territory on the tip of Morocco. This means that all of these fighting age males are coming into their country.
There is no resistance from the government whatsoever. These people are coming in without any obstruction. And if people don't know, Spain has a very left-wing government. Earlier this year, they did a big amnesty program for over 1 million illegal immigrants living in the country. They had 1.3 million illegal immigrants apply for that amnesty program between April and June. So that's what we call a pull factor, Sandra. They're looking for something like that. They know if they can just get their foot in the country, maybe someday that left-wing government will do another amnesty program. And you were just reading some of the wires. The locals want an emergency declaration. It sounds like
the ministry's saying no. They will not deploy military to the border.
Apparently they don't think this is an I mean, look at this. This is a total free-for-all.
It does feel like we are looking at a few years ago when you were reporting at the border here in the United States.
There you go. What'd you say, Sam?
More than half of that territory's population poured in one day. That's 49,000 is the estimate right now. And the population of Ceuta is 83,600.
Yeah. I mean, so it's just this little
Horrifying.
territory has fallen. And can you imagine living there?
No. Be like Poland.
Oh, absolutely. What did you say to me in Q? Sam? They would have. Poland would have protected their borders.
They would have probably gunned them down. I mean, they give their warnings. They give people a chance to walk away from their fence.
Yep.
And then after that, if you cross into our territory, it is a crime, and we see and have the power to, protect our border with whatever means necessary. That's how they handle business over there.
Well, and here's the thing. So
safest country in all of Europe.
Yeah. Okay. So what borders Spain? I don't know this. And most
France, Portugal,
France, and what?
Portugal's on the other side of France. Right?
All right. So they got the open borders out there in Europe. So you're going to start having countries say, "Screw this. We're not going to continue to have open borders."
Okay. Portugal, France, Andorra, Morocco, and Gibraltar.
Okay.
So France actually has their Minister of their Interior Laurent Nunez immediately mobilized round-the-clock mobile police and military units to step up checks at the French-Spanish border, fearing migrants will move unchecked from Ceuta through mainland Spain into France.
That's what history tells us.
Yeah.
You had all those Haitians come into Texas, and then they spread out across America. I mean, it's not the same thing, but it's sort of the same
dogs
thing.
in Springfield, Ohio.
Yeah, that's the thing. So they're going to go in, and without this is what Europe has to learn, and this is what America has to learn as well. And that is that, and we have learned, of course. I mean, you'll notice in that Fox News report, you know what, Spain, they've got a left-wing government, I guess, a left-wing government, and so you get what you pay for or what you vote for. You get what you vote for, and that is what's going on in Ceuta in Spain. So they're trying to figure out what to do now. I mean, this is, again, a very good reminder for all of us here in America, literally what is at stake heading into the midterm elections and certainly the presidential election in 2028. So it is 5:21. Did we do traffic? We missed traffic, didn't we? Joan, anything going on in traffic?
Nothing.
Okay, very good.
Absolutely nothing. It's a beautiful, quiet morning on the roadways.
All right, very good. Then it is 5:22, Nashville's Morning News, and Joan has the news coming up at 5:30. Joan.
Yeah, and coming up here at 5:30, Dan, of course I'm not ready for you. The Democrats have some new trouble. Oh, this is the story I told you about, Dan. They've got some new trouble from the candidate who replaced Graham Plattner on the ballot in Maine. What a story this is. It's coming up at 5:30.
Democrats are just such a complete horror show. This is such a great story.
It's unbelievable.
I can't wait to hear you reported coming up next.
All right, it's coming up at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis. For my friends at Mark Spain Real Estate, the real estate market has really changed. If you are stuck in a home that you simply cannot sell, call my friends at Mark Spain. If your open houses are being ignored, call Mark Spain. If you're tired of making costly repairs while your home goes unsold, call Mark Spain. Their guaranteed offer keeps you in control. You're going to get out of your home fast and with maximum profit when you go through Mark Spain. Now, Mark Spain Real Estate has over 72,000 clients and is the #1 most reviewed real estate company in America. 13,000 five-star reviews cannot be wrong. Mark Spain Real Estate is the company that I recommend for selling your home. So call them right now. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out, get out of your home fast, and move on to the next chapter in your life. 855-299-SOLD. 855-299-SOLD. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today. That's markspain.com and start packing. 527 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. Hope you are doing well, and welcome on in to Nashville's Morning News. So now I've got 15 people, Joan, telling me the different various pronunciations of Ceuta or Ceuta or Suda, because in the news piece they called it Suda.
So that's the English pronunciation.
Is that the English language pronunciation?
Yes.
Is Suda?
Yeah.
Okay, so should we go ahead and change our official Nashville's Morning News pronunciation to Suda?
Well, since we're Americans, I feel like that's the right thing to do.
All right, so we'll call it Suda from now on. Soota, Suda. By the way, there is a photo, Libs of TikTok. You were telling me about this, Joan.
Yeah.
So apparently, talking about the situation in Ceuta, which is a territory of Spain just off the tip of Morocco, where they have now, if you were anywhere near social media yesterday, you saw some of the most horrifying videos of a little, enclave of about 83,000 people being overrun by rampaging young military-aged Muslim men. And basically what's happened is Spain's government and the Supreme Court there has said, no, we're not going to turn migrants around if they come by sea. They could just come right on in. It's basically the Spain version of catch and release. And so that gave permission for somewhere between 40 and 70, 80,000 people to come storming into this little territory. And there's a picture on Libs of TikTok. I have not seen it yet, Joan, but there's a picture.
I posted it to my ex if you want to go see it.
There's a picture of did you say the new president of Spain,
correct,
who is a leftist, posing with none other than the younger Soros. Remember the younger Soros and the whole Soros family, you know what their thing is, right? Open borders. Their organization is called the Open Borders Society, if I'm not mistaken. So one of the things that I'm going to do real quick, maybe, Sam, you can do it for me, is Google or find out from Grok, how much did George Soros pay for the election of those politicians in Spain? Because Soros not only funds soft on crime DAs here in America, but what he also does is he funds politicians all across the world. And he funds leftist politicians who allow for open borders, which is essentially what we've seen not only there in Spain off of Ceuta, there at the Moroccan border, which there is no border now, but he does it here in America as well. So we'll find out about that. It is 5:30. Joan has the news right now on WTN.
Good morning, I'm Joan Jones with your top stories, and our forecast looks really nice for today. It'll be partly sunny, little on the hazy side, but low humidity today, our high going to 90 degrees. Now, cloudy, scattered showers and thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon, our high 88. Then Sunday, check this out, cloudy skies, our high reaching only 80 degrees. In the news this morning, President Trump announced an agreement between his Board of Peace and the terror group Hamas that calls for the complete disarmament of Hamas and all other armed groups in Gaza. Now, that breakthrough was brokered by that board, the Board of Peace, and mediators in Egypt, Qatar, and Turkey, and it paves the way for a new Palestinian government in Gaza. Now, in a post on social media, the president said Israel will also have the security that it deserves, with Gaza no longer used as a base for terror attacks. A Nashville man is facing a possible sentence of life in prison after being indicted on federal charges for alleged child exploitation. 32-year-old Joseph Bowman appeared before a judge in Texas Monday. Now investigators are casting a wide net for more of his victims.
Investigators believe that Bowman might have had contact with minors in Nashville, Memphis, Mount Juliet, and several states, including Kentucky, Florida, Kansas, New York, Virginia, Missouri, and Texas.
That's Channel 4's Lydia Fielder. Now, the charges against him include production of child pornography and traveling with the intent to engage in illicit sexual contact. And the Democrat candidate for U.S. Senate in Maine, who's replacing Graham Plattner on the ballot, has some trouble of his own today. Reports say that Troy Jackson and his longtime partner, her name is Lena Pelletier, are second cousins who share the same great-grandparents. The Maine Wire reported the couple has raised 2 sons together, but they never married. Maine grants no recognition to common law unions. That is the latest news. We've got your traffic next. I'm Joan Jones.
So, second cousins.
Second cousins.
Okay.
So think about if you had who your great-grandparents are.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So, and I'm not sure how
the lineage.
Right. Because it could have been, many different, like if those great-grandparents had 10 kids.
Right.
They could have come from different kids from, their grandparents were probably different. Obviously, they are. The report didn't say that. So they had different grandparents, but their great-grandparents were the same 2 people.
That would just, you know what? Can I just say this? If I had a second cousin and we found each other attractive, the whole thing, no. I'm just.
Oh boy.
No. Let me finish. The whole second cousin thing would oog me out to the point where I would be like, you know what? No. We're not doing this.
No, I have to say.
The family reunions could be really interesting.
Yeah.
Every day is a family reunion in the house. So.
I have to say that marrying your second cousin is legal in every U.S. state.
Yeah, you know what? I mean,
it's how kingdoms were formed in medieval times.
Yes, and people will obviously hearken back to the Bible. I have to say it was different then, right?
Apparently so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Life was really different before the advances of modern plumbing.
Listen, far be it from me to judge anyone on anything regarding marriages, but it just seems a little weird. But listen, if it's legal, you want to do a Daily Dan poll? Would you marry your second cousin?
I'd rather not.
Oh, come on.
Native Tennesseans would be offended by the question.
Oh, would they? Why?
We've been accused. Us in Alabama get accused of incest on a regular basis.
But it's not incest.
It's not.
Obviously.
Second
cousins.
I got a better question. Okay, so let's do this. If you met somebody and you found them attractive and it was like vice versa, then you found out that you were actually second cousins, but you didn't know you were second cousins, then what do you do if you're in a... Because that's happened.
I think about my 9th grade biology class where we learned about traits and genes and how they get passed on through lineage.
Okay, You want to get freaked out?
What?
18 U.S. states allow marriages between first cousins.
Yeah.
Do you want to name the states?
Yeah.
We're on that list.
Arizona, Illinois, Indiana, Maine, Minnesota, Utah, Wisconsin.
Utah doesn't shock me.
Some marriages between North Carolina allows first cousin marriage as long as the applicants are not rare double first cousins, meaning both through both parental lines.
What other states?
6. Okay, so 6 states prohibit first cousin once removed marriages, and that would include Tennessee.
All right.
And Kentucky.
Well, all I'm saying is that it has happened where people didn't know that they were second cousins, maybe even first cousins, and then they meet up on some sort of an app, and then you suddenly realize...
Oh, your grandma's also from Norway. Oh, about what time she get here?
You walk in... Can you imagine walking into, your new love's apartment or whatever for the first time, and you see a picture of your grandparents on her wall?
You've noticed our noses are awfully similar?
That would be funny. It's like, oh my gosh, your grandparents look like my grandparents.
It's so
weird.
funny. On Wikipedia, there is actually a graph that shows which states, like each state, and how they either outlaw or don't things like first cousin marriage criminalized, sexual relations or cohabitation allowed, out-of-state marriages by state residents or whatever. I mean,
do you know? So I once knew. I know. He's giving me the wrap up. Shut up, Sam. So I once knew a conservative who said the following: if you believe in freedom, you should be able to marry or date
whomever you want.
Anybody you want to marry. It's not the government's business to tell me who I marry, even if it's my first cousin.
That's me shutting the door on this topic.
I was like, okay, dude, whatever. And I just kind of ended the discussion. Anyway, got to go. 537, Super Talk 99.7. WTN, Dan Mandis here, lifelong dog owner, and I've seen all kinds of behaviors with my animals, and I bet that you have too. So if you've got a dog that needs some behavior training, my buddy Jeff and his crew at Ridgeside Canine Nashville, they can help you. I do indeed call them the Dog Whisperers. They've helped thousands of dogs and their owners over the last 25 years solve behavioral issues. They can help you as well. Aggression, potty problems, anxiety, or basic obedience. Yes, Ridgeside Canine Nashville, they can help you and your dog with just about anything. So what you want to do is give them a call. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out at 615-878-0380. They do get you involved in the process. You are a big part of the process in your dog's training. Call them, talk to Jeff. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. They can help you and your dog. 615-878-0380. RSK9Nash.com. RSK9Nash.com. Ridgeside Canine Nashville, veteran owned, proven results, and guaranteed for life.
No problems this morning. The roadways are looking very clear as you head into Nashville. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.542 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, so Joan and Sam, my promise to both of you is we are going to keep the show on the rails today.
Oh, really?
Despite the fact that we are returning from break 7 minutes late. That's okay. Anyway, whatever. So
that means that you just thrown down the gauntlet, and now Sam is going to try to upend every effort you make to keep on time today.
Yeah, well,
because he loves
clown
you.
Show.
Then I'll throw him right under the bus. All right, so this is time for Joan's World. Joan, what do we got?
Okay, so let's start out this morning. Since we have already talked about it, let's start out with a little suicidal empathy, shall we?
All right, so go ahead, set it up.
So this is video from yesterday when the Islamic people, the Islamic men from Morocco were invading Spain, literally swam 3 miles across the channel to invade Spain. This woman decided she was going to go ahead and wave the people in.
All right.
And
is there video? Is this audio or just video?
There's audio too.
Yeah, so she's just waving them in.
And I guess she doesn't realize that, anytime from now to like a week from now, she'll probably get jumped, raped, maybe even killed.
It's funny you say that, Joan. I'm sitting here thinking, girlfriend, you're probably going to get raped at least a few times in the next couple of days. I don't know what you're doing, but that's
And she'll be wearing, if they don't do that, she'll be wearing a burqa with just a slit for her eyes, if they give her that much. And those little shorts and her sandals, no more.
Well, we'll see what happens. But yeah, she's waving them on in.
Yeah, this is the absolute definition of suicidal empathy. Come on in, we love you.
Yeah, which she's videoing as well. So
yeah.
I give her about 3 months till they find her having been assaulted and murdered.
Okay,
do you think they're going to bring in the military into Ceuta and start trying to?
Fox had it just a little bit ago. Said something. Spain has activated the military.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's limited things that they can do because of the laws that exist in their society.
Right. I mean, we talked about this in the first segment. Spain's leftist government and apparently the Supreme Court said you can't turn these people back around.
Yeah.
That effectively gave them permission. By the way, this is probably why the Democrats want to expand the Supreme Court here in America, is to get, more leftists on our Supreme Court. They don't like the current makeup of the Supreme Court, so they want a Supreme Court. And I don't know anything about Spain's Supreme Court, but bottom line is the Supreme Court and the leftist government, they want all these, migrants to be able to come in. So, and here's the deal. This is the government that the people in Spain voted for. You get what you vote for.
Yeah.
Just like here in America. If you believe that the Joe Biden's 2020 election was real, this is what America voted for in 2020. So I'm imploring people to pay attention to what's going on in Ceuta, there in Spain, right next to Morocco, as it's being taken over, because everybody on the socials yesterday was saying this is what another Democrat-run term at the presidency will look like.
Yep.
It's bottom line.
Sure will.
All right, next.
Okay, so let's go to the Property Brothers. My heart is stinking broken by this story about the Property Brothers.
All right, so describe who the Property Brothers are, because a lot of people may not know who they are.
Okay, so you will know them. They're the two brothers, Jonathan and Drew, who they had a show, and maybe they still do, I don't know, on HGTV, where they would take a property and, renovate it, whatever. And they always had cool ideas, and I always enjoyed watching them. But apparently, Jonathan's home and his in-laws' home, and I believe his wife is Zooey Deschanel, the actress.
Sure.
Okay, never mind. You've got a blank look on your face. So anyway, their homes were in Pacific Palisades where the fires happened. So Jonathan unbelievably goes to the mayor, Karen Bass, to explain how he is rebuilding.
Oh my goodness, here it is.
We are in the Palisades.
Yes.
It looks very different now than it did right after the fires when we walked through. It's exciting to see how many homes are being built back. I thought I would give the mayor a little tour of what is one of the very first virtually fireproof, earthquake-proof homes being built back. This is our family home, my in-laws, and it's being built out of material that does not burn.
Well, I just have to thank you because...
So this is a propaganda piece is what it is.
It is a propaganda piece, exactly.
How many... I don't know if there's been a lot of homes that have been rebuilt in Los Angeles. I know the last time that I checked, and it was months ago now.
Yeah.
But the last time that I checked, Los Angeles, because of, a lot of the bureaucracy, people were having a challenge being able to rebuild their homes. And so this is, I can tell it's a propaganda piece. How do you know it's a propaganda piece? Because they've got little music behind it.
You're doing this, but you also are so willing to spread the word and help your neighbors understand that they can actually do this. And it's not like extraordinary.
Whatever, so.
Okay, so here's the stats. You ready?
Yeah.
The number of homes completed since the fire, 15.
15 homes.
15 homes.
What was it? What were these fires? Like it was just
January of 2025.
January, and we're now in almost August of
18 months later.
18 months, and they've completed 15 homes.
Right, but
Holy
the number of lots sold, and we know that there's a lot of speculation that these lots are being sold to China and to other places. 586 lots have been sold.
Yeah. Well, then it's going to go to China, or it's going to go to people who have been regulated or zoned for multi-purpose, not multi-purpose, but multi-dwelling homes. So you can put a whole bunch of people, like duplexes. They have them all over Los Angeles, duplexes, where, it's the size of a home, but it's like 3 or 4 homes in one with a bunch of walls.
Yeah.
So, that's
that
what they want.
information, by the way, comes from the Palisadian Post, which keeps track of the number of permits, the number of homes built. So in that time, 15 homes were built, and Jonathan had the nerve to create that video to talk about,
and how much money does this dude have?
Oh, just
you know what
tons.
I mean? So
yes, the average person does not have that kind of money.
All right, next.
Okay, so let's go. Let's see. Let's go to the latest Nick Shirley project. He's out in the streets of New York City talking to people about communism and what they think about the candidates that have been elected, and especially right there in New York City. You can't miss talking about Zoran Mamdani.
What do you think about the rise of communism here inside the United States?
The rise of communism? That would be hard for me to answer unless we have a shared definition of communism.
Yeah, so for instance, right now here in New York City, they're now freezing the rent. They want Medicare for all. That's free Medicare. They want to tax the rich, redistribute the wealth. Zoran Mamdani, he also wants prisoners to get released. He's trying to get rid of Rikers Island and abolishing private ownership in some cases as well.
Thank you for this definition. My thoughts are pretty positive. I feel aligned. I can't really speak to...
Is she stoned?
No, she's like, this is... But look at her. Like, you can...
We got to describe it. You say look at her. So she's wearing like hot pink pants, checkered sort of pink shirt. She kind of looks like she's a little out of it.
She's very slouchy.
Specifics. But I think I'm pretty pro-communism. I'm pro making things accessible. I'm pretty pro getting rid of prisons.
How can you like to get rid of prisons?
This is excellent. Hold on.
Like the system of criminality is a very strange way to interact with I guess humanity in general, and things that as a species we're not interested in, perpetuating. I think it's kind of backwards. And so I'm not certain what prisons are actually doing for our society.
Would you like to have criminals out in the open?
Well, do I want criminals out in the open? Sure, I'm fine with that, because the idea of a criminal is a little bit funny to me.
By the way, when she said the word criminal, she did air quotes. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
So
let's just say somebody who has raped a woman.
Totally.
Would you like them to be out in the street?
I think my answer is yes, even though that's a challenging answer to say.
Listen to this.
So if you got raped, would you like your rapist to be out in the street?
Well, let me finish, because I have been raped, and they are out in the street, and I'm not sure them going to jail is a solution to whatever's going on inside their heart, or even my own heart that contributed to that experience that I'm having.
In her own heart, she contributed to getting raped.
This is insanity.
Is this not insane?
I think this is one of those. Okay, so we do need to have like acuity tests to make sure that people are smart enough to vote. Because this woman.
Yes.
I mean, obviously I'm being facetious, but I mean, come on, man. So she's like, what did I do to contribute to my own rape? Wow, really? And by the way, the other thing that she says here, I don't know. Let me play a little bit more.
And I don't want more people to get raped, but I don't know for certain that going into a jail in the United States is going to shift anything inside of their like operating system.
So here's I don't care if rapists. I'm reasonably certain Joan feels this way too, but if somebody's a rapist, I don't care if there is a shift in their operating system. They need to be away from women.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
They need to be away from the general population.
Yeah, that's the thing that she's not understanding. I mean, clearly there's a lot that she doesn't understand, but she's saying, well, they're not going to change if they're in prison. Well, I don't care if they change. Just leave them in prison and keep them away from my friends, families, and daughters and so forth.
Like completely denies the point of government, right? They want government to control every aspect of your life, except for the fact that, you know, its number one job is to protect its citizens. And if you cannot behave and conform to a polite and civilized society, then you must be removed from that polite and civilized society and placed in a place where society is safe from you and your actions.
Very true.
And the craziest part about this, I've got liberal younger siblings. I cannot get them to watch stuff like this of people that are going to vote right alongside them that have no thoughts between their ears. That are just spewing whatever everybody else in their circle is talking about. I think communism my thoughts could be positive. Shut up, lady.
Thoughts could be positive.
I cannot imagine sitting down and actually having a conversation with somebody like this. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yep.
We have that event coming up on August 6th. And one of the things that I really like about our events is talking to really, really smart people. And that's the people that come to our events, which is going to be, again, August 6th. All four hosts are going to be there. It's going to be at Hop Springs in Murfreesboro. Hop Springs in Murfreesboro. I think this is going to be our third or fourth visit to Hop Springs. As a matter of fact, it's a great place to have an event, and we are going to be there August 6th. Matt is going to start broadcasting at 3. We're going to go till 10. I'll show up probably around 5 or so, and I'll probably leave by about 5:15. Totally kidding. I'll be there probably till about 9 or 10.
Receiving hugs all the time you're there.
Listen, if some guy actually just told me on the super text line that he was going to give me a hug, I'm fine with that. You want to give me a hug? Come on, give me a hug. Just don't linger.
Do you believe in your heart that it's your fault you get hugs?
Listen, I'm just a lovable guy. Right?
What is it in your heart that allowed you to take a hug?
But see,
sharing that blame.
But see, how long is an appropriate hug, right? Like if you have a lingering hug, I
3
think
seconds.
So you're going to go 3 seconds. So any hug over 3 seconds is a lingering hug. Okay.
Yeah.
But so what
if
about
it's not
when
family? It's too much.
When the hug includes a good pat on the back and that extra little like. You know how guys do that?
Mm-hmm. You get done.
They give that extra, and then they give a pat on the back. There's a couple of seconds extra involved in that.
Well, so hold on. Are we talking about locking hands first and doing that whole like, the dap up?
Yeah.
Is that part of the hug, or is the hug after you've dapped up and now you're embraced?
Well, I don't know about any of that, but is there a difference? Is there a big difference between a pat and a rub on the back?
Oh, yes.
Right? Because when somebody pats you on the back, that's like a dude thing. That's like a bro hug kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But if somebody like hugs you and rubs you on the back, then I don't know. Sam, is that appropriate?
I mean, if you aggravate a spot that itches, it's your responsibility to scratch it.
I would never in a million years, if somebody hugged me, I would never in a million years rub someone's back as the hug is happening. Because that turns into a little bit of creepville, does it not? But see, I wouldn't necessarily be offended if somebody...
Depends on the pressure, depends on how far your hand travels. Are we going north, south, east, west? What's going on?
Listen, mid-spine is the lowest you go, person. Don't go any further south.
Feel that dimple down there.
You know, it's like, what, third or fourth vertebrae? Whatever, we're being dumb. It's 5:56. Joan's got the news coming up. Joan.
We got the latest from Spain, where the military is now being deployed to that border between Morocco and the Spanish territory of Ceuta. The latest what's happening there coming up at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.557, my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, they are wrapping up their back-to-school drive for kids. Now, if you give notebooks, pens, paper, pencils, whatever, then Busy Bee is going to give you $50 off of any service. Now, if you want to give today, you can stop by their shop in Mount Juliet. This weekend, they'll be at the Mount Juliet Chamber of Commerce. Again, drop off pens and pencils and notebooks and paper. They are going to give you $50 off any service, courtesy of my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. You can check out all the details, busybeehvac.com. Now, while you're at the website, check out great deals on plumbing, HVAC, and indoor air quality. Plus, the Beehive Club is always a great option for keeping your HVAC maintained over the long run, so you're actually saving money by keeping your unit running at peak efficiency for maximum comfort. 615-246-5009, 615-246-5009, busybeehvac.com is the website. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. At least 18 people have now died after thousands of people breached the border between Morocco and the Spanish territory of Ceuta, which is just across the Strait of Gibraltar from the Spanish mainland. One of the people who flooded into Ceuta is Ahmed Karim.
There is no a lot of job in Morocco. So there is job, there is people who work, there is a lot of things. but that's not enough for all the people.
Spain is deploying its military to that area now. Fox News reporting the Spanish government said the armed forces are going to support the civil guard in restoring order after the local officials there warned the city could no longer handle the influx. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez and the Interior Minister Fernando Grande Marlaska, they're expected to visit Ceuta as Madrid is scrambling to contain this crisis. Here in Nashville, the Metro Nashville Public Schools has fired a teacher after he reportedly used AI to alter pictures and video of students. News 2's Caitlin Quisenberry reports that the teacher, his name is Mario Mumphrey, received a 4-page termination letter.
The letter alleges Mumphrey took photos and videos of students, sometimes without their permission, and then used an AI program to make it appear they were twerking or performing TikTok dances. The district also accuses him of making inappropriate comments to students, including telling one student in relation to his girlfriend, quote, "You don't like her, you just want to have sex with her." The letter further claims Mumphrey texted students after school asking where they were and became pushy when they didn't respond quickly.
Now, the district said at least 9 incidents left students feeling uncomfortable or unsafe. Mumphrey does have the right to appeal that termination before an impartial hearing officer. Money News brought to you by Beacon Capital Management online at beaconcm.com.
Stocks on Thursday managed a major rebound from Wednesday's heavy losses. The Dow Jones gained 614 points yesterday to close back above 52,000. The S&P surged 1.6%. Rising tech shares drove the Nasdaq 2.75% higher. Apple is warning investors that a scarcity of parts to build its devices may crimp sales growth this quarter. The caution flag was posted even as Apple has regained the title of world's most valuable company from chipmaker Nvidia. Consumers are still spending, but paying 3.7% more than they did a year ago, according to the inflation gauge most watched by the Fed. Second quarter gross domestic product grew at just 1.5%. The self-initiated data breach carried out by a pair of OpenAI models might not be an isolated incident. Anthropic has disclosed that its Claude AI models also gained access to the internet and sneaked into the systems of 3 organizations. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
And stocks are on the plus side this morning with the Dow futures up 347. That's the latest news. We've got your traffic and weather ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. In Antioch, there's an overturned vehicle, 24 westbound. It's taking out 2 left lanes at Harding Place. Pretty slow going behind that as well. Harding Place in Oak Hill. There's a crash right at I-65. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.607 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. Hope you are doing well, and welcome on in to Nashville's Morning News. Got some great news over the. I got some great news over the newscast. Monty Fritz is going to be joining us coming up at 6:35. Remember yesterday we spoke about how Tennessee is going to be. We're in the finalists, and we're going to be accepting apparently if we are picked. To accept all of this nuclear waste. Remember that whole topic that we talked about yesterday? Well, Monty Fritz happens to be an expert in many things nuclear. So in addition to running for governor, and I like Monty a lot, so in addition to running for governor, he knows a lot about this stuff. So he's going to come on at 6:35, and we're going to talk about whether or not he believes that it would be a good idea for the state of Tennessee to accept the nuclear waste from all of these different states across America. We would be getting $50 billion to do it from the federal government. We would also be getting, access to 25,000 jobs and, big tax base and the whole thing. The question is this safe? And we talked a lot about this yesterday, but Monty's going to fill in some of the blanks. So we'll be speaking to Monty Fritz coming up. And I don't know if I'm going to ask him about anything gubernatorial, if you will. I'm not sure if I'm going to ask him anything about the governor's race, but if you have a question that you want, I feel like I've asked Monty pretty much everything I want to ask him. But if you've got a question for Monty, shoot it to the super text line. And again, I'm a big fan of Monty Fritz. Really looking forward to speaking to him. Coming up at 6:35, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, so hey, I do want to do a Daily Dan poll if we could there, Sam. Do you believe that this ceasefire, or whatever you want to call it, this peace deal with Hamas, do you think that it's actually going to last? Because I am skeptical as the day is long. And how many times, friends, have we been here before? So President Trump says Hamas has agreed to completely disarm. Now, the news exploded yesterday, I guess, with a mix of excitement and disbelief and, of course, cynicism as well. This is a combination of Hamas disarming, Israel leaving Gaza, the Board of Peace taking over, and eventually the Palestinians taking over the region. So this is what the president said, posting in a True Social last night. And by the way, this could actually be legit, because remember who funds Hamas, right? Iran funds Hamas. And so Iran's economy is in tatters. So this might actually be legit, and it could possibly stick. We'll have to see. By the way, you know who else is cynical on all this? Israel. So I don't know. I'm just telling you, I'm not real enthusiastic or confident that this Hamas disarming story is actually going to pass the long-term test. The agreement, though, the president posting in a True Social last night, the agreement made by the Board of Peace was part of the 20-point plan to bring peace to the Middle East. Hamas confirmed to the BBC they have agreed to the deal. Again, Hamas, Iran, they lie. In a True Social post on Thursday night, Donald Trump celebrating what he called a monumental step towards lasting peace and security in the region. This agreement is a critical step towards Gaza finally being governed by a new Palestinian government that will work closely with the Board of Peace to help the Palestinian people. Donald Trump adding, at the same time, Israel will have the security it deserves, with Gaza no longer used as a base for terror attacks. The president said the agreement will be put into place in carefully structured phases that will eventually lead to Israeli forces withdrawing from Gaza. So Israel, they're not exactly thrilled to be leaving Gaza. They believe that Hamas is still, there. Hamas, by the way, has said, yeah, we're not going to give up our tunnels, and we're not necessarily sure about really giving up our firearms. So I don't know. I feel like I've been here a bazillion times before. An internal stabilization force and a new Palestinian police force will work together to keep Gaza safe for its residents and its neighbors. This agreement is a critical step towards Gaza finally being governed by that new Palestinian government. We all remember, by the way, the Board of Peace. Joan, can you name, I want to see if Joan can you name one person on the Board of Peace?
Oh, no.
Jared
No,
Kushner?
Okay.
I couldn't either. In fairness, I couldn't either until I looked it up. That's why I wanted to ask you. Tony Blair is in charge of it. Jared Kushner, Marco Rubio, Steve Witkoff, Susie Wiles, and others. So this is, and I think Tony Blair is doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Donald Trump thanked I have audio only here, Sam. I've got audio only. Donald Trump thanked the mediators of Egypt, Qatar, and Turkey for their important efforts alongside his own team.
Donald Trump obviously very keen to claim the credit for the Board of Peace. A lot of negotiation was going on with the Egyptians, the Turks, and the Qataris. They were talking to Hamas. There had been some obstacles in getting them to a point where they were ready to sign on to this, but it was made clear that financially things were going to get much more difficult for Hamas, that funding structures could be scrapped. There was definitely international pressure on Hamas to accept this.
All right, so the Daily Dan poll question is, if you haven't done it already, Sam, is do you believe that the Hamas disarming will last? I think that's what we do. Joan, does that sound good to you?
That sounds good, yeah.
I know that Joan's mic is on and her pod is up because I can hear your heater in the background, Joan. Thank you. It's not distracting at all.
Okay.
So remember, Hamas is an Iranian proxy. Iran provides Hamas with weapons and training and support and basically tells them what to do. You just heard the guy, that was from Al Jazeera TV, and you just heard him say that their funding is in trouble because Iran's economy is in tatters. So I am wondering if this is finally an indication that Iran is starting to buckle under the pressure. Their economy is still at 300% inflation. They can't sell oil. We control their ports. They've been bombing not only our allies in the Middle East, but ships in the Strait of Hormuz. So they've been spending a lot of money on, military aspects of this campaign. So they're running out of money. Again, inflation is at 300%. They've also got an infrastructure that is on the brink of collapse. They haven't been able to pay their soldiers. I mean, it goes on and on. So it is possible that simply because Iran is running out of money, that this is really the first indication that they are running out of money, is they're saying to Hamas, you know what? We're broke.
Now, it was all discussed at the Oval Office when Donald Trump met Benjamin Netanyahu just a couple of days ago, but the Israelis expressed their concern. They said they were worried about how this would actually work, and they weren't entirely sure that Hamas would stick to the agreement. So this is going to be a sector-by-sector arrangement. As the sectors are cleared and disarmed, then more and more Palestinian police officers will be put to work. They'll work in association with an international coordination force, the makeup of which hasn't yet been cleared, but we've heard rumours that it could involve the likes of the Indonesians and possibly even the Turks, something that the Israelis might not be keen on, nothing that the Turks have ever confirmed either. And all of this will be overseen by Tony Blair. The intention is that Gaza will move towards the technocratic government that was promised in the 15-point peace plan to end the war in Gaza.
All right, so I guess all of this sounds pretty good, I suppose. Hamas disarms. Remember, by the way, and how many times have we heard this about Iran itself? There's a lot of groups within Gaza. There's a lot of various terrorist groups there within Gaza. And so Hamas disarms, okay, well, 5.5 months ago called, they want their topic back. That means that there's going to be all kinds of other groups, terrorist groups within Gaza, just like in Iran. There's going to be other groups that might try to fill that power vacuum. And we don't necessarily know what would happen if Hamas ultimately ends up giving up their guns and their ammunition and all of that. And by the way, again, they're not giving away their tunnels, or giving up their tunnels, and that means that they would very easily be able to hide weaponry if they so chose. They say that Israel will withdraw from Gaza in phases, although haven't really heard much from Israel about this. You heard that in that report that Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu apparently spoke about this in the last couple of days. Benjamin Netanyahu was gushing about his meeting with Donald Trump. So maybe there's some agreement here, although we haven't heard from any official sources within Israel as to what they're going to do. At least I haven't seen any. Maybe there is some out there. The new Palestinian Technocratic Administration will govern Gaza. Remember that this is going to be having nothing to do with Islam or any country per se. It's simply going to be a government that is going to run the country essentially like a business, and it'll be part of the transition. That internal stabilization force is what they're calling it, will also provide security. So if Hamas ultimately ends up giving up their weaponry, and there's other forces or factions within Gaza, and they want to start fighting, and they start want to taking on not only Hamas, who are now supposedly disarmed, but they'll also start taking on this international stabilization force, well, then it could just be we're trading one train wreck for another. So that international stabilization force has to be good enough to be able to slaughter whatever little terrorist groups are in there so that they can truly start rebuilding. And part of this reconstruction that we're talking about, everything. They've got to rebuild the infrastructure, schools, hospitals, housing. It goes on and on. I want you to think about a city the size of Las Vegas having to be completely rebuilt, not from the ground up, but, from under the ground as well, because, again, they've got to put all of that plumbing and that infrastructure in there as well. It's all been destroyed. And they say that it'll cost tens of billions of dollars to rebuild as well. Beyond that, again, wondering how we're going to confirm, just like with Iran, how are we going to confirm that Hamas is actually disarmed? Remember, again, they like to hide their weapons underneath schools and hospitals and such. And so, I don't know. Donald Trump is really excited about this. There's headlines all over the place last night and this morning. Fingers crossed. I am cynical. Sam, what are people saying on the YouTube chat Daily Dan poll?
98% say no.
Oh, really?
The peace deal will not last in Gaza.
Do maybe what the actual appropriate question is? Let's take a poll as to how long do you think it'll last? Amy, you know what Amy and I this is what we do in our spare time. So Amy and I last night we were driving to Riker's open house thing because he's going into 7th grade. Yeah, time flies. And we were trying to figure out, okay, so Amy gave it till Sunday. And I gave it till Monday. That's how long we believe the Hamas disarmament will last before, somebody starts firing something. I don't know. Joan, you have an opinion? You think maybe it'll last 5, 6, 7 days? What do you think?
I'm going to give it 2 weeks.
Joan's going to give it 2 weeks.
Because I'm a beacon of optimism.
Good for you, Joan. Beacon of optimism. Joan Jones. Sam, what do you say? How long do you think it'll last?
I'm going to take like a betting line. I'm going to say it will not last longer than 6 weeks.
Oh, see,
I got to cover my bases there.
Okay.
both of us are much more optimistic than you cynical Dan, you.
Yeah, they have to have time to restock their ammunitions, relocate them, recruit more, willing suicide bombers, stuff like that.
Somebody's saying, by the way, 24 is a parking lot. Is there something going on 24?
Yeah, there was that accident in Antioch, 24 westbound at Harding Place.
Okay, 24 westbound Harding Place. That is
Two
what's going on.
left lanes are blocked off. It's an overturned vehicle. Stay away.
Okay. Apparently, Jason says today's thumbnail on YouTube gave Dan some hair. Thank you very much.
Gave you hair and so many muscles. It's laughable. It dwarfs your head at this point. The muscles on your arms.
Does it?
Yeah.
All right, very good. Well,
I think the producers are having a little too much fun.
Oh, they're having way too much fun with AI. I mean, Chris and I both.
Oh yeah, I just noticed that it gave you. Gotta.
Did I
going?
Do you think I'll get in trouble if I say what I feel like my thumbnail looks like today? Because I told you off the air, Sam. Should I say that on the air? What I feel like my thumbnail looks like today?
Go for it.
It looks like I belong in a San Francisco bathhouse.
Oh,
that's what it looks like.
Your second cousin.
Hit the music, Sam.
Yeah.
The
Anyway.
That one.
No, it does. I look like one of those guys. I remember when I lived in L.A., Venice Beach. Have all the guys and they've got their little tight shorts and they're doing the
those shorts are awfully tight.
Doing the muscle stuff and all that. Yeah,
keep those
that's
shorts
what I look
on
like.
Here in the bathhouse.
Moving right along. They're not creepy at all, especially in headphones. Sam, thank you. 6:23. Joan's got the news at 6:30. Joan.
Yeah, coming up here, there is a teeny tiny chance that Todd Blanche's confirmation for permanent AG could actually take place. We're going to tell you what happened late yesterday to give everyone a little bit of hope. It's coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, 624 Generator Supercenter. Listen, one of your biggest priorities in life is to protect your family. And if the power goes out in your neighborhood, you need to get it back on quick. You need my friends at the Generator Supercenter. Now, you've seen the horror stories of power being out for days or weeks at a time. The Generator Supercenter provides backup home standby generators at a terrific price and outstanding customer service as well. Matter of fact, what I want you to do, number one, tell them I told you to reach out, but go to their website right now, find out how you can save $500, GeneratorSupercenterofNashville.com, and see how you can get started. Again, GeneratorSupercenterofNashville.com. They do feature turnkey installation, certified plumbers and electricians, and service after the install, and a whole lot more. So the power goes out in your neighborhood, you've got a backup power generator ready to go. Your power is going to go right back on. At the Generator Supercenter, they also have their generators made right here in America. Call them. Again, tell them Dan told you to reach out. 615-879-1952. 615-879-1952. Don't forget how to save $500. GeneratorSupercenterofNashville.com. Dan Mandis here. Why should you go to Brentwood Jewelry for all your jewelry needs? Well, I would say, why not? They are, simply put, the best in Middle Tennessee. Now, at Brentwood Jewelry, they've got incredible selections of watches for both men and women for any budget, and great selections of Rolexes, both new and used. Now, if pocket knives are your thing, they do feature the William Henry collection. They are gorgeous. Now, if you're getting engaged, they've got everything from wedding bands to semi-mount engagement rings and a whole lot more at Brentwood Jewelry. And guys, if you're looking for something for that special lady in your life, they do feature bracelets and earrings and necklaces, all kinds of things at Brentwood Jewelry. Great prices, terrific selection as well, outstanding customer service. Find them online, BrentwoodJewelry.com, 7012 Church Street East, located in the heart of Brentwood, just off Franklin Road. Be sure and tell him Dan Mandis told you to reach out. Exceptional styles, exceptional deals every day for over 50 years, BrentwoodJewelry.com.
Good morning. It's 6:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. At least 19 people now have died after tens of thousands of Moroccans rushed the border of that tiny Spanish territory of Ceuta. It's situated on the African coast, and it borders Morocco. Some came through the gates while many others entered through the sea. They swam from nearby Moroccan shores.
The flood of migrants comes just weeks after Spain's Supreme Court ruled migrants who reach Ceuta by sea cannot immediately be returned to their home countries without due process. The White House responding saying, President Trump has long warned Europe what would happen if they continue to implement far-left globalist policies, including enabling mass migration. Italy's prime minister also reacting.
threatening to suspend an agreement with Spain that allows travel between most European countries without routine border controls.
That's ABC's Sophie Flay. There are estimates that 50,000 Moroccans flooded that tiny town. President Trump has floated the idea of withdrawing Todd Blanche's nomination for Attorney General after two soon-to-be departing Republican senators said that they would hold that nomination up. ABC's Catherine Falders reports the pair of holdouts finally held a meeting with Todd Blanche.
For the first time this week, after many canceled meetings, that acting Attorney General Todd Blanche did in fact meet with Cornyn and Tillis. Just moments ago, the meeting did not happen here on Capitol Hill. It was off campus, so out of view, despite being outside the senators' offices. So we didn't see the meeting occur, but they have met. I'm also told by sources that they believe they are closer. What that means is unclear at this point, considering there's been a great deal of back and forth. But the reality is the Senate here is gone, so they would have to get this done on Monday, and then maybe they could get Blanche confirmed by the August recess, which begins next week.
Yeah, they have been demanding that Todd Blanche provide in writing that the anti-weaponization fund that President Trump wanted is officially dead. Blanche had been contending he's already given them verbal assurances. And a 15-year-old boy from Indiana has been sentenced to 100 years in prison after being convicted in a 2025 gang-related shooting that left one woman dead and another wounded, and a third person injured when she was hit by a car fleeing the gunfire. The boy's name is Jomezi Larry of Anderson, Indiana. He was sentenced on Wednesday. Larry was one of 4 members of the Mickey Cobra Nation gang, charged in the murder of the 26-year-old woman outside of a nightclub. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Okay, you've got that crash on 24 westbound that's making a mess this morning. It's at Harding Place, but they've been able to move the overturned vehicle off to the shoulder, and traffic is now moving, but it is very slow this morning. If you're traveling on I-40 westbound at the downtown split, you've got a crash that's on the off-ramp. The right lane of that off-ramp is blocked. Opry Mills Drive at Briley Parkway, a crash involving some injuries. And 840 northbound in Lebanon, you've got an accident past Couchville Pike. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.637 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Text line is open 615-737-9986. Does the state of Tennessee want to accept nuclear waste from other parts of the country?
Well, Tennessee is one of 5 states that have agreed to accept nuclear waste.
I mean, what could go wrong? Had some fun with this yesterday. However, when you get an expert on the line, that expert, of course, is none other than Monty Fritz, who also wants to be your governor. Monty, always appreciate having you on the show. As you know, sir, I am a big fan. Your district, number one, it includes some of Oak Ridge. And so we'll talk about Oak Ridge, and they're part of all of this. And also you have quite the history with, nuclear, I guess, production and these kinds of things. Real quick, before we get into whether or not you believe this is a good idea or a bad idea, talk about your expertise in nuclear overall.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dan. It's good to be with you this morning. It's 65 degrees in East Tennessee, so I hope you're having a good cool day in Middle Tennessee.
Nice.
Today. I spent about 35 years total, much of that time in defense programs work or naval reactors. So much of that is producing either components, uranium components for me, or naval reactor fuel, and at a couple different places. I was the ALORA chairman at the Wattswell plant, which is as low as reasonably achievable concept, and about radiological exposure and, development and review of radiological work permits. And so very much into the contamination control and radiological protection for the worker, radioactive dose for the employees. And we did criticality safety school at Los Alamos National Lab back in the 90s. I was one of the first ones, I think, to go there as at that time a frontline supervisor or a mid-level supervisor.
All right,
so I understand the supply chain really well, and it all does depend on a good waste path. Dan, I did a little research on what the mainstream media was reporting, and I'm not sure they're reporting it absolutely factual as to what those 5 sites are taking.
Well, Monty, let me just say this: they didn't really. I mean, the reports that I saw, they didn't really report much at all. To be honest with you, and so that's why I wanted to have you on. So there is, just for people that didn't hear my original segment yesterday, you've got the 5 sites: us, Utah, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Idaho. And so we'll be getting, and this is what has been reported, so Monty, just correct me if I'm wrong, media is reporting that we would get $50 billion in capital investment to accept this nuclear waste. We'd get $10 billion in state and local revenue, create 25,000 jobs as well. And but I guess there's going to be, because, Monty, people are freaking out about flock cameras and data centers. I can imagine what would happen if somebody said, hey, we're going to go ahead and put some nuclear waste buried in your backyard. So, number one, it depends on what kind of nuclear waste we're talking about. That's number one. And number two, where it would be. So what do you know about this?
Yeah, so we currently have low-level radioactive waste and mixed waste that is stored for a period of time in sites, in Tennessee, primarily in East Tennessee here, where we production at Y12 or the Oak Ridge National Lab, up in Irwin. Our TVA sites will have some of that same type low-level. That's everything from radiological personal protective equipment that has become slightly contaminated or even heavily contaminated during the work activities, to protect the employees, and that's maintained. But if again, I read the article and it talked about the entire supply chain of nuclear manufacturing just briefly, and I think I'm victim of this sometimes. I don't like the word victim, but the mainstream media often uses catchphrases that aren't completely accurate to convey things. I think what I read is that we would be a part of the supply chain, and maybe that's manufacturing of containers or casks or storage devices. And there, in all of those things I mentioned, there's some intermediate storage of that low-level waste and maybe even some highly contaminated items. But Tennessee is not, I say again, is not a site that should accept long-term storage, in-ground storage of, really highly radiological waste, because the geology of our soil is not optimal for that. There's a supply chain that starts from, the uranium from the ground, and then all the processing that gets us there, the components, the waste that I talked about, that all is happening today. And then there's a final disposition that has over the years been planned to be in Nevada for final disposition for very, very highly, very, radiologically concerning materials.
Well, Monty, if I could real quick, that's the stuff, because I was doing some research myself. That's the stuff that is underground for like 100,000 years, right? I mean, it's surrounded by granite and that kind of thing.
It is, and it's where there's not the hydrology and the geology of the soil does not lend itself to it in the case of a problem that you contaminate water systems and all that. Our soil system is a bit different here than it is in I'm speaking just specifically of Nevada. Now, the Department of Energy will do an exhaustive authorization basis for wherever this goes, right? And there's a great deal of work that goes into all the postulated scenarios and the radiological concerns, the other concerns about the material, but I would be in direct opposition to the long-term storage here. And I can't imagine anyone who understands the supply chain would agree to the long-term waste storage here.
Well, and there, not to belabor the point, but we're not really getting a lot of information yet, because I think that, it's down to the final five. And so we'll have to find out more details from the governor's office. As you probably know, the state legislature has effectively come out and said, we support what the state is trying to do. That is all part of the process, is trying to lure in ultimately this contract and the $50 billion. And I said this yesterday, the $50 billion, not only is it infrastructure for some storage, but I'm assuming that is also to, build out more nuclear energy here in the state of Tennessee as well, correct?
Yes, and we need that. And so there will be more interim or initial or interim, interstitial storage of materials and waste. Again, mostly low level stuff. Most of it's going to be that by volume, just in the manufacturing process. And as we bring up enrichment capabilities in Oak Ridge, there's a huge investment coming into Oak Ridge from many companies to bring up an enrichment capability, increasing the isotopic occurrence of U-235 per mass to high assay low enriched uranium. And that's a big push, and it must be, because we don't have a domestic capability for that today, thanks to folks like Carter and Clinton. And they shut down those capabilities. So we've got to resurrect that capability. America needs that. And Oak Ridge is equipped to do that. And Oak Ridge understands, and so does Irwin, Tennessee. I'm headed there today. As a matter of fact, I'll be in Irwin later this afternoon. But they understand how to process that. I think there may have been a little hyperbole in the headline just to kind of shake things up. Now, with all that said, and I know I'm rambling a bit, we don't maintain nuclear expertise in the House, in the Senate, nor in the governor's office, just to be honest with you. They struggled some with even spending the $50 and then $60 million that we put into the nuclear fund. There has been, I think, with our economic community development department, a tendency to just like growth at all costs and throw money at things. It's the whole foolishness of recruiting a Starbucks. Well, we did some of that with the nuclear fund, and I'm fully supportive. I voted, I'm 100% in support of us growing. We know how to do that in East Tennessee. But part of the reason I restructured the State Energy Policy Council is so that we would have subject matter expertise in nuclear waste and in criticality safety and all those things, not just nuclear energy, but electrical distribution and gas and oil extraction. The problem has been the governor's office has fought equipping that group well to be able to provide that expertise. It seems like sometimes they want the uninformed career politician view rather than the informed subject matter expert. So we've got a group of, 18, 20 people of all different disciplines that have volunteered their time to help with the policy decisions of the General Assembly and the governor's office, whomever that may be the next time. So there's a group of people that are ready and willing, but there's been a pushback through the executive department to not really exercise that. And we've got to fix that. That's to have access to the knowledge base that we recruited people, because I personally recruited some of those folks in East Tennessee because I know they're subject matter experts.
Yeah.
And we've got to equip them. But we have the capability, the knowledge base to do this well. And again, Dan, I think there's a little bit of hyperbole in those headlines just to kind of shock people, if that makes any sense.
You don't say.
Well, Tennessee is one of 5 states that have agreed to accept nuclear waste.
Anyway, all right, it is more with Monty Fritz coming up next. I got to check the roads real quick on WTN. As far as weather, partly sunny today, a high around 90. Saturday, cloudy, scattered showers and storms, a high of 88. And Sunday, cloudy and a high of 80. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. Monty Fritz joining us on the Newsmaker Hotline. All right, Monty, away from the nuclear stuff, you are the subject of some media coverage, and I feel like this has been spoken about ad nauseum on WTN, so I'm almost, to be perfectly honest, ashamed and embarrassed to have to bring it up again, but people are asking about it. So there's a piece, I think it was yesterday or the day before, but, the notion that you want to ban Islam, that is the exact quote. Monty Fritz wants to ban Islam. So let's go through this and just make sure one more time that people understand exactly what it is that you're talking about. So if one of the local TV stations says gubernatorial candidate Monty Fritz wants to ban Islam, let's talk about that. Be very precise in what you mean.
Yes, sir. So I get that question a lot lately. It started with, I think, Channel 5. I got some in Memphis. And so the question they ask in the context is, would you? Well, as a born-again Christian, I think Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. And as someone who's concerned about people of all different upbringings, whether that be from a mosque, a synagogue, a cathedral, or a Southern Baptist church, Jesus is the way to salvation. And so with that context, I can't imagine how a born-again Christian would answer that question any other way than, we just want everybody to know Christ. And so, I tried to explain that some in the interviews. That doesn't sell as many headlines. I do offer this, that in our Tennessee Constitution, there was a nice gentleman asked me this question out in Memphis, he said, well, don't you think it's a First Amendment problem? I said, not necessarily. My view is not, because the First Amendment says Congress shall make no law regarding the establishment of religion or the free exercise thereof. And so that's the only one of the Bill of Rights that specifically limits just the power of Congress, right? Mm-hmm. And so our Tennessee Constitution, Article 1, Section 3, says that all men have a natural and indefeasible right to worship Almighty God, capital A, capital G, within the dictates of their own conscience. And so our Constitution in the state of Tennessee protects your right to worship the God of the Bible. It doesn't, it goes on then, our Constitution, that no man has authority over your rights of conscience. So I don't have any desire to tell people how to think. I want them all to come to the knowledge of Christ to be saved. But I can't tell them what to think. Now, let's go to just the political side of it, because we often end up finding this conversation going to Islam. Do we want in Tennessee what's happening in Texas or New York City? I say affirmatively no. And if I could limit the building of mosques where jihadis are trained to do great destruction, and they do that, I certainly would take that. We sent the governor a letter a couple months ago asking him to declare CARE, the Council for American Islamic Relations, and the Muslim Brotherhood as enemies or foreign terrorist groups. I would certainly do that, because I think that those organizations have found themselves in their views for a long time. They don't align with our Constitution, and they've come here to destroy the United States. So first, looking at just the theology of it, I don't have any authority as even a Christian to force you to worship Christ. That's going to happen one day anyways. According to the Bible, it says every knee is going to bow and every tongue is going to confess it, that Jesus is Lord. I do have a responsibility to be light and to be salt and to speak to everybody, where they grew up in that Baptist church or that synagogue or that mosque or that the cathedral or whatever, and just, share that light, that love of Christ. I have a responsibility to do that. But we can't force the dictates of conscience. And scripturally, God doesn't give the Christian the authority to do that. Worshiping Christ is a free will thing. We get to decide that for now. So theologically, that's the view. Civilly, do we want mosques on every corner in Tennessee? Do we want them gathering to accumulate their votes to bring their worldview into politics? Do we want Dearborn, Michigan? Do we want New York City? I say affirmatively no. I think it's unfortunate. Last thing I'll say on this, I heard the other two candidates were asked about the question, and I have to give Senator Blackburn great credit. She had the courage to say, bring up Sharia law, that we weren't going to allow that, and, we'd done some things to protect against it. But Congressman Rose's answer was so weak on that. And you have to wonder, what does he really think? So I think that those weak answers by politicians all across America, and even in the great state of Texas right now, it's causing them great problems. And, I hope that helps. I know that's a long answer, but first and foremost, we have free will to worship who we want to, and there's both a reward and a consequence for that.
Is there a worry, Monty, let me ask you this. Is there a worry that, because you just gave a very good, detailed explanation of how you feel about it, but I think we also got to be honest that not everyone is like us. A lot of people, number one, they'll disagree with you, but number two, they don't have the patience to have a nuanced conversation. And my worry for you, Monty, as somebody who really likes you a lot, is that the headline is going to be Monty Fritz wants to start banning religions. And is there a worry from your campaign that that's the headline that people are going to take away from?
Well, I've just, we saw this with people, great men, I think, like Charlie Kirk. We've seen it even with all his good attributes and flaws. We've seen it with President Trump, that the mainstream media wants to cancel the truth. And so if you speak straight, not just about Islam or anything, Christianity, anything like that, and you say something that's straightforward. If President Trump says that he's having trouble with getting the SAVE Act passed, they twist that headline. And I think sometimes some of the irresponsible reporting by some of the major, mainstream media, they bring great risk on the people because they create an environment that, because they use hyperbole and often dishonesty, they create an environment where people are driven to do bad things. And I think that's irresponsible reporting by some of those in many cases. There is that concern, but I promised, Dan, I'm going to, it goes back to that Shakespeare quote, to thine own self be true. And I think, first, you must be true to yourself. And if you're running to be governor of the state of Tennessee or any other political office, city council in Nashville, be honest about what you think. Don't leave people guessing and wondering. I'm crystal clear on those. I hope people will take the time to listen. And I hope people will take the time to research. And if they have, as somebody who feels called to run for office and not wasn't necessarily my intended journey in life, they'll have other choices to vote for. But I would go back to that question for most of the people who are a little bit concerned about how hard and how straightforward that comes out. What are your grandchildren going to say to you when we have lost the republic that we have? What are the grandchildren, how are they going to reply because weak men and corrupt politicians have been afraid to confront issues? What will they say when their granddaughters are forced to wear burqas? Or that we have Islamic prayer called 5 times a day in all our cities? Because I assure you, that is the objective of the movement of Islam.
All right. Monty, got to run, but I very much appreciate your clarification on that. And if we have any other questions for you, I know you've been great to come here on Nashville's Morning News and WTN. You've got a lot of fans here, and I told you off the air, I'm going to tell you on the air as well. You have run an incredible campaign with very few resources, and I think you have done an incredible job with that campaign. And win or lose, I just got to congratulate you because you have converted a lot of people into Monty maniacs, Monty fans. So congratulations.
Hey, Dan, can I close with one thing on the nuclear waste part?
Sure, go ahead.
I have a great deal of confidence in people that I used to work with. Now, I was in, again, defense programs or naval reactors, but in the environmental management part of the Department of Energy and National Nuclear Security Administration, that they will go through a very, very exhaustive process. Some of these local politicians will do anything to get a $50 million investment or $1 billion investment next to their names. Be careful with them. Most of them can't spell uranium. And so what they put out might be in error. But we're equipped well both with our State Energy Policy Council and all those tremendous assets that we have in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, not to make bad decisions. And they'll do public meetings and they'll put out lots of information on whatever these grants and loans are. If these grants and loans are for nuclear manufacturing, whether it's for supply chain management, a cask and or new modular reactors, we want that business. If it's for enriching uranium, we need that business, and we're the place. There is no other place to do that other than Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and we need those things. I think there's probably some misinformed or uninformed words in the nuclear waste thing. I certainly hope that's the case, because I'd be the first one to come out and say, no, Tennessee's not going to be a long-term storage site for this very contaminated waste.
All right, Monty, thank you very much. Again, always great to have you on. And if I don't talk to you again before August 6th, good luck. And I'm sure we'll hear you again soon on WTN. And have a great rest of day and weekend. 7 o'clock at WWTN, Hendersonville, Nashville. Joan, I apologize. Boy, have I eaten into your time, but I got to tell you.
No, it's okay.
I wanted to get some
worth
clarification on Monty and the whole, banning Islam thing. So, and I think we did get some clarification. A lot of folks wanted some clarification on the super text line. Real quickly, because we've completely shanked the format here, but can we get an update on 24?
Yeah, 24 is actually moving better this morning. They've pushed the accident that was in Antioch off to the side. So that's, there's still delays, but it's not as bad as it was. The bigger problem at the moment is on the 40 westbound off-ramp to the downtown Split area. There's a crash that is taking out the right lane of the off-ramp there. So that's another big backup this morning. Just be careful as you're traveling out there.
Thank you, Joan. Got a lot more straight ahead. WTN. .704 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, so again, we completely shanked the format because we had Monty Fritz on. So what we're going to do, Joan, real quickly, and by the way, yesterday we had Butch Baker on the radio program, and he is running against Mark Pody for state senate. So I want to get Mark Pody on to give some equal time, if you will. So he's going to join us here in just a couple of minutes. But first, Joan, just real quick, because we're trying to get back on time.
Yeah.
Again, late, but totally worth it with Monty. But what is your first main couple of stories?
Okay, so there's a couple things going on. There's an ATM robbery in Franklin. They've arrested one man. They're still searching for another. They're asking for people who live in Franklin to check their doorbell cameras for any information about these. The second person that apparently committed this robbery. And then, of course, President Trump said that there was that deal in place for the for the Gaza that would, Hamas says it's going to disarm and give up control of the Gaza Strip. And President Trump announced it last night. Well, Daily Mail is reporting just now that Israel unleashed a fresh airstrikes against Gaza. So it's really in question whether or not that Board of Peace deal is actually going to hold up.
99% of the people, Joan, say there's no way in heck that thing is going to last beyond a couple of weeks. So that was the Daily Dan poll. By the way, if you want to check out the Daily Dan poll, you can watch us on YouTube, watch us on Twitter, Twitch, 99.7, WTN.com. A lot of places to watch the radio show either in real time or if you want to watch the show later on in the day, at night, whatever. It is there in all of its glory. You can also listen to us anytime, anywhere as well, on any of these streaming apps, and you can listen anytime to either the show in real time or you can catch all of the podcasts. Dan Mandis here. I want to tell you about my friends at Window Nation. Now, listen, I've been talking about Window Nation for years now. I've got 4 of their windows in my home. I love Window Nation, but Jim sent in a note. He says, Dan, about Window Nation, thank you so much for your advertising for Window Nation. He says, I will never go anywhere else. Tyler and his 3 installers were true professionals, and the windows, he had 15 windows installed courtesy of Window Nation. He says the 15 windows that I had installed yesterday, they look amazing. Truly one of the best investments I could have made for my home. From the console to the cleanup and the hallway, truly amazing. Thank you so much, says Jim. And no, Jim, thank you for utilizing Window Nation. Now, right now, they've got a great deal going on, 50% off all window styles, plus no down payment and no interest for 2 years. Check them out online, windownation.com. Friday on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. Hope you are doing well and welcome on in. Basically, today is wrapping up all the loose ends, if you will. You know what we do when we are in the midst of elections and primaries. You have people on, then you want to get on because you want to be fair. Then you want to get on their opponents. You want to have incumbents. You want to have on challengers, so on and so forth. And it is in that spirit that we have State Senator Mark Pody on, District 17th. Now, Senator, you've been on my show many, many, many times over the years, and love you. We had some fun with your jingle the other day, and you were a good sport about that. Yesterday, we had Butch Baker on. Of course, you are running against Butch Baker. He had some nice things to say about you personally. He likes you and so on and so forth. Politics, though, of course, being as it is, I wanted to follow up on a couple of things that he said regarding you and the time that you've spent in office. One of the things Butch said, Mark, is that you had told him that you were not going to run, and then you changed your mind and decided that you would run after he had already announced. Was there a change of mind at some point?
So that's a great point. 4 years ago, after we were elected, I told a lot of people that I was not going to run again, that that was my last term. In fact, I met with a lot of people, including Brian Wilson. And at that point, I think Brian Wilson would be a great guy to go into politics and so forth at some point. But I met with Baker, I met with a lot of people and told them, you know what, I think that was my last term. I wasn't going to run again. And so that's absolutely accurate. However, about 2 years ago...
Should I just, can I ask this? Should I be offended that you didn't ask me if I wanted to be a state senator?
Well, you know what? I probably should have sat down with you as well, but Brian had retired, and you were still actually active. So
I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding. I couldn't pass the vetting. Anyway, so what was the change in mind?
So we just didn't feel that we were released to be done with this. My wife and I, we've served our term. We've been up there now 16 years, and we had felt that this was going to be done. But I did not get that within my spirit. She didn't get in her spirit. We just felt that we weren't done. We got a few things that we want to continue and complete up here. We've got a very, very good track record. And so about 2 years ago, we stopped saying that, and we said, no, this looks like we're going to be running again. And we've been active, and we've been doing this. And I have met with people and told them, you know what, I'm going to run, and I have been running. So we've been running now for well over a year for the reelection.
Talk about some of the things that you have done, that you have accomplished, that you are most proud of.
Absolutely. So, if we look at it, there's 90-some bills that I've been involved in that I've had to present and so forth. Now, I don't want more laws. I think we have plenty of laws in Tennessee, so I'm not out here to say we need more laws. And if I break down the 90-some bills that I've passed, they're going to break into like 4 different type categories. Sometimes a city or a county, they have to go through their state legislature to get something changed in their charter. That would be like Mount Juliet, Lebanon, Wilson County, and so forth. And they always give us something to say we got to change our charter. And then House members bring us different bills, and if the House member has one, it's got to be carried in both the Senate and the House. Same thing with Senate members, otherwise lobbyists. But some of the bills that I brought myself that I wanted to pass was like artificial intelligence. We just passed the bill that I wrote that said no matter how far artificial intelligence ever advances, it will never be considered life. So we didn't want artificial intelligence to have constitutional rights in down the road. We don't know what that's going to look like. Another one that I passed that I wrote was we've had a lot of issues with some of the sewage and step systems throughout Tennessee. And so we wrote a piece of legislation that's going to curb that, that's going to make sure that we have clean, safe water, and still give local communities the option to make sure that they can make it tougher than what the state would. But we've had some issues along that, and we had to stop that and make sure we had clean, safe waters. I've curbed the governor's authority for his emergency powers. When we had COVID, I thought our governor did a good job, but there was way too much authority to keep these emergency powers going forward. And we don't want anybody saying that this business is essential or that business is non-essential, or the opportunity to keep just renewing emergency powers. So I wrote a bill to curb that. I also did something for texting and driving to make sure that we tighten some of those things up. During COVID, we had people that had power of attorney for their health of their loved ones, but they were not allowed to go in the hospital to see what's going on with their loved ones. And they're the ones that were supposed to make the health decisions, and they couldn't even get the records, or they couldn't even go in and see their own loved one. And so we wrote a bill to make sure that if somebody had the power of attorney, they could get those records. They could go visit their loved one. We did oversight boards here, and this is going to be statewide, but specifically in Nashville. Police had something called the oversight board. And we passed a piece of legislation that would make a standard across the state that would give all of Tennessee a better standard. And it did make the oversight board in Nashville have to reconstitute itself and fall into a lot more scrutiny around the state. So they couldn't come in and destroy crime scenes and so forth. So I've done a lot of those kinds of pieces of legislation. One other piece that I did, and Dan, this is going to go back a little bit. A lot of people don't remember, but we used to have something called emissions testing. That means every year you got to take your car in before you could get your license again year by year and registration. Well, we met all the EPA requirements, and those testing was no longer required. But certain counties, including Davidson County and Wilson County, still had to go through those. I'm the one that started to put legislation in it. We didn't have to go through those testings. So those are the type of legislation that I wrote and I passed since I've been there.
I remember when that happened, the whole Wilson County thing with the car tags and all that. Yeah, I remember those inspections. So real quickly, give me your 60-second elevator pitch. We're talking about what you've done. What are you campaigning on now? And, what are you looking forward to in the future?
All right, so we've got to find a way to continue our roads. We need funding to go into our roads that's dedicated funding without a new tax. It's going to keep up with inflation. That's a user fee. We need to have something that's going to be at least $1 billion reoccurring. What we've been doing right now is allocating money from time to time and giving money as we could to the TDOT, but that's not enough. We're way behind. So we've proposed something that's a sales tax that we're currently collecting on. If you buy a car, any kind of vehicle, that money would go directly into our roads. That would make a huge difference in getting caught up. We want to make sure that's coming up. The federal deficit right now is approaching $40 trillion. Our state budget is over 30% reliant on federal money. We've got to have somebody up there that's going to say no, even though they're good programs that the feds might have. It was not the state's responsibility to pick up some of the things that are going to be dropped, and we've got to be very, very cautious about what we're doing. I stand that it's not the government's role to raise your kids or run your business. That's your role as individuals, and I want to make sure the government does not get in that business of raising our kids or running our own businesses.
All right, and Senator, I know that our time is short, and so I got to let you go, but we've been talking for many, many years, and you've always been gracious with your time with us here at WTN, and I'm sure that I'll be talking to you again soon.
All right. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it.
All right. We'll see you. Bye-bye. That is Mark Pody, State Senator Mark Pody, District 17, and got a lot more straight ahead. Did we do traffic? Okay, we did not do traffic. It is 7:18. Time to check the roads on WTN. Very good. 7:19, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super text line is open, 615-737-9986, 615-737 WWTN. You know, it's interesting, Joan, we're talking about, sort of like our clock issues today and some of the things that are going on. Now the super texters are telling me that I'm late on the clock. I know. You know, it's interesting. I don't know if Brian has ever been, you just heard State Senator Mark Pody talking about how he was going to retire, then he decided not to. I don't know if Brian Wilson was ever honest about whether or not Mark Pody had spoken to him about running for state Senate. But I remember Brian telling me at the time, he's like, yeah, he came, we were talking about, Brian running for state Senate. He lived in the district and so forth. And I don't remember exactly what Brian's response to that was, but I think that I encouraged Brian to run. I mean, I think that Brian would have been great. I mean, what did he do in Watertown?
Too, yeah.
I can't remember what Brian did in Watertown. Wasn't he he wasn't the mayor of Watertown. He was something else of Watertown.
Maybe that.
I don't know.
Of town council?
Commerce, Chamber of Commerce or something. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. Next time I talk to Brian, or Brian, if you're listening, remind me what you did for Watertown. But, right now, Brian is I think he's considering his options as to what exactly it is that he wants to do next. Of course, he is, filling in here as long as he wants to fill in for, and we love him here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right. Number of things that we've been talking about today, and it is a very healthy news day for a Friday. There is a story that I'm going to be talking about coming up here in a little bit, and it's the first of its kind in the country. And Joan, you and I were talking about this before the show in our pre-show meeting, where the father of this kid named Colt Gray, and Colt Gray school shooting in the state of Georgia, killed 2 students, killed a couple of adults as well, teachers. Well, Colt was found guilty. He actually basically admitted that he did it. But you know who else faced charges and has now been convicted? Colt Gray's father, Colin, has also been sentenced to 15 years in prison for the crimes of his son. And this is, part of a movement where we now have people, and I'm all for this, by the way, where we have people in groups that are saying, no. So if you're an adult, if you're a parent, if you're a father, if you're a mother, and your son or daughter does something abhorrent and you completely ignored all of the warning signs, then you will be charged as well.
Only if you're white.
I've got that story coming up here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 722, stay close. And it's, I believe, Joan is going to be doing the news at 7:30. Joan.
Yeah, we'll tell you why that deal that President Trump announced about some peace in Gaza may be on shaky ground this morning. It's coming up here at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.722 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Middle Tennessee Ford, Mid-10 Ford. Yes, I agree. Times are tough, and if you need a truck or a minivan, maybe an SUV, Mid-10 Ford can help you out with great selection and pricing. Now, they've been around for 56 years, since 1969, helping people get the vehicle that is right for them. Now, right now, you can save $1,000 or more on select Ford trucks. Now, they also offer special financing as well if you need it. Mid-10 Ford is a one-stop shop. You can buy your vehicle there. You can get it serviced. And yes, they even have a body shop as well. Brand new or pre-owned, you can check out all the great deals, mid10fordtrucks.com. That's mid10fordtrucks.com. They offer low-pressure sales, maximum customer service as well. This is a family-owned business going back 4 generations. So they know how to treat their customers, so let them help you get into your next vehicle. Stop by Middle Tennessee Ford, Mid-10 Ford, 1319 Foster Avenue. You can also get in touch on the website, mid10fordtrucks.com. That's mid10fordtrucks.com. Mid10fordtrucks.com. Let their family take care of your family. Dan Mandis here for USS, United Structural Systems. You know, whether we're talking about waterproofing, concrete leveling, or foundation repair, my friends at USS, United Structural Systems, they are the absolute best here in Tennessee. Now, these types of issues, they don't get better over time. They get worse without the proper fix. You know that, they know that, and yes, they are here to help you. They've helped me over the years with my foundation. I can tell you from personal experience that yes, they treated me right, communication was outstanding, the work was excellent, and customer service was top-notch. Now, these folks at United Structural Systems, they've been helping Middle Tennesseans for a long time because they do it right, they are going to treat you right. By the way, if you don't have the money right now to fix whatever ails your home, well, they can help you with special financing. So, option number 1, get a 10% discount when you pay in full. Option number 2, fix it now, pay it later. With 18 months, no payment, no interest. Or option number 3, choose the 3 months, no interest with low payment option for qualified homeowners. So call USS, tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out, 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855, USSTN.com.
Good morning. It is 7:29. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories, and already on shaky ground, President Trump announced an agreement between his Board of Peace and the terror group Hamas that calls for the complete disarmament of Hamas and all other armed groups in Gaza. Now, that breakthrough was brokered by the mediators at that Board of Peace and Egypt, Qatar, and Turkey, paving the way for what they say is a new Palestinian government in Gaza. However, there are reports out of that area this morning that say Israel has unleashed fresh airstrikes on Gaza. Now, these reports are coming from Hamas. Israel has not made any comments about the deal or about airstrikes so far this morning. A Nashville man facing a possible life sentence in prison after being indicted on federal charges for alleged child exploitation. 32-year-old Joseph Brown appeared before a judge in Texas Monday. Now, investigators are casting a wide net for more of his victims.
Investigators believe that Bowman might have had contact with minors in Nashville, Memphis, Mount Juliet, and several states, including Kentucky, Florida, Kansas, New York, Virginia, Missouri. and Texas.
That's Channel 4's Lydia Fielder there. The charges against him include production of child pornography and traveling with the intent to engage in illicit sexual contact. And the Democrat candidate for U.S. Senate in Maine, who's replacing Graham Plattner on the ballot, has some trouble of his own. Reports say that Troy Jackson and his longtime partner, Lena Pelletier is her name, are second cousins who share the same great-grandparents. The Maine Wire is reporting that couple has raised two sons together, but they never married. Maine does not grant recognition to common law unions. That's the latest news. We've got traffic and weather ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Well, there is no more crash on 24 westbound, but there is quite the jam up in Laverne this morning. It's quite slow on 24 westbound. You've also got a crash in Nashville on Lebanon Pike at Spence Lane, one in East Bank on 24 westbound on the off-ramp to Shelby Avenue, exit 49 westbound. The off-ramp right shoulder is blocked off, and you've got a crash as well in Madison on 65 southbound at Old Hickory Boulevard. It's on the right shoulder. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
7:35, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super text line is open, 615-737-9986. Welcoming into the studio John Henry, running for the 6th against Johnny Garrett and Van Hillary. And congratulations, John. You are officially my last primary political interview of 2026.
Thank you, Big Dan. I appreciate this, brother.
I'm over. I'm done. And you know what? And I did say this yesterday when I met Butch Baker, who's running against Mark Pody. And it certainly applies to you, which is I get to meet a lot of really cool conservatives, and you are definitely one of them. So, win or lose, I'm grateful to have met you, and I think that you're a great guy. I did have Johnny Garrett on a couple of days ago talking about something, don't necessarily remember what it was. Van Hillary, for whatever reason, refuses to come on the show. So I wanted to have you back on one last time. So, and I know that you guys go on all the different shows. I really appreciate what you told me off the air, which is that you appreciated and liked my show more than everybody else's.
Did I say that?
I'm totally kidding. He's like, I didn't say that. Come on, man.
That's great.
Let's talk real quick about your campaign. First of all, I'm told that when I introduce you, I should introduce you as Dr. Sergeant Major. So what is that?
Well, it was my Marine rank when I was in the Marine Corps Sergeant Major. And then I was able to use my GI Bill when I got out to receive my PhD from Johnson University in Knoxville. So I'm grateful. And Monty Fritz and a few other folks on the campaign trail call me Dr. Sergeant Major. But let's just go with John today.
People can start calling you a DSM.
No.
Democrat, Socialist, Marxist. Yeah,
let's not
we won't do that. All right, so real quick, you're, again, running for the 6th. So, again, I've had most of these candidates on. One of the things that you've been doing is you've been, of course, traveling the 6th. And you're talking about a very diverse district, because you're talking about, and before we went on, you were talking about the very poor parts of the district, and it's a lot more than just Lebanon, Mount Juliet, and so forth.
Right. We're talking Morgan County, Scott County. We were just up at Morgan County's fair. It's a different world from places like Lebanon or Mount Juliet or Nashville, and I think that's what makes our campaign unique. Is we're a grassroots campaign. I'm from a very rural area, about an hour and a half outside Nashville, so I understand rural life, and that's where our factories used to be. That's where farming used to be robust. It's no longer that way because of government overreach and regulations. And that's another reason it makes us more qualified than the other candidates to run this race. Even though it may be grassroots and you don't see commercials of us and so forth or 1,000 mailers, we are the grassroots campaign that connects with the people, which I think is a true representative.
One of the things, and you're a farmer. Remind me what you farm.
A cow-calf operation down in Riddleton, Tennessee.
Cow-calf.
Yep.
Okay, so when President Trump, just recently, I think he said that he is allowing now food to come in from Mexico, meat to come in from Mexico. Very controversial because people such as yourself, you folks are struggling. The cow-calf farmers and the meat producers in this country, they are struggling. And so this is one of those issues where, and let's be honest, this is a very pro-Trump audience here, but this is one of those issues that you're going to disagree with the president on. Well,
I am, Dan, and it makes sense. We have packers and processors that took over our entire meat industry, and to be honest, we had a 75-year cow herd low in America. Regulations have driven farmers out. Cow prices have been so fluctuating, just volatile in some areas, and then sometimes they'll fly back like they are now. We have a record high prices of beef right now. We understand that by that low inventory of cattle across America that there needs to be something, but for us, we need to give it back to the American farmers. The average herd of a farm in America is 25 to 30 cows, calf operation. So that's really it. Now, what they've monopolized it. You have the 4 major packers and processors that run all the beef. And so they believe since the cow herd is so low, they must bring meat in from Mexico. But people forget sometimes Mexico's a third world country, and their products are not the same.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to ask.
Free haircuts and braiding.
What I was going to ask, which was, don't know where that came from, but I was going to ask, their regulations, I mean, you just called them a third world country, agreed. Yes. So does that actually put us in any kind of danger?
Well, it may not now, but it will. And when you take in the Congress, Again, the Congress did not pass the Labels Act last year again, and that is where you pick a pack of meat up and it says USDA. Is that only American beef, or did the major packers processors mix Mexican beef in with that to say that it is? That's the issue we have.
And why do they do that?
Well, so they can
save money?
Well, they can bring their meat in, combine it with ours, and have that high standard that American beef has held for centuries, right? I mean, for
so
a long,
it's like if I mean, it may sound dumb, but it's like stolen valor in the sense that they're putting their crappy meat in with ours, and so they can. It's almost like filler meat.
Yes,
that's
sir.
what it kind of
That's
sounds like.
So hamburger meat, things of that nature. If you see American cattle compared to Mexican cattle, you'll be blown away in many cases. And we've seen experts in the 6th District, Mr. Johnny in Clay County, he makes it very clear. All this research has been done. These labels, you can compare 2 packs of meat, one from Mexico and one from America, and see complete difference. And that's a big issue for us.
Why would Congress pass that?
Well, because obviously there's the big packers and processors, billion-dollar companies.
Yeah,
and so that's
true.
an issue. Or they just don't lack the knowledge. I would say the same thing with my 2 competitors. They have no knowledge of what I'm talking about right now, but it's significant to those families out there that buy meat every single day, which mostly is everyone.
Would you say that when you talk about Johnny Garrett, you talk about Van Hillary, what separates you from them?
Well, a number of things. One is what we see, the growing issue with Islam in America. So we talk about the Red-Green Alliance. That's the communism, socialism that starts out to take a government over. You see it, Dan. It's like everyday speech, it seems like, in America. The words communism and socialism, that never was before. Well, they take over, and then they just let Islam slip in there, and before you know it, you're going to be having an Islam law in your country. Sharia law, things of that nature we see every single day. So my experiences, I've been in those countries. I know how those countries work, and I see it creeping in America, and I'm trying to warn people and alarm people. And in Congress, I'll do the same thing.
You were, of course, in the military. Yes. We talked about that. The great thing about talk radio and the terrible thing about talk radio is people are tuning in all the time, in and out. So just to recap, because I think that's a major part of who you are, is your time in the military. So talk about what it is that you did in the military, and we'll go from there.
That's a good point. So I spent 27 years in the United States Marine Corps. I married my high school sweetheart. We took off. I served in Desert Storm. Then 10 years later, obviously 9/11 happened, and then served in OIF, Operation Iraqi Freedom, twice, and then Operation Enduring Freedom. So I've been to those Muslim countries, those countries, and we understand how they work. We believe that the training we've had there gives us a little bit more expertise than others. It's not their fault that they didn't serve to that extent or at all. And so we think that today's Congress should have mostly military, to be honest with you, to face the threats that we see coming into our country today. And I feel I'm the one that's eminently qualified to do that. I think that leadership, I think any campaign should be about leadership and not about politics. We say, well, he's been a politician this long, or he's done this, and what? What have politicians done? Well, it's gutted our small communities across Tennessee. It's gutted our communities when NAFTA was passed in the 90s. So we see that voting politicians doesn't work. That's why we voted President Trump in, is because he wasn't a politician. And that's why we're running right now, is because we're not politicians. We are a part of the people. My constituency, that's who I am. And I think that's very important. So military experience and real-world leadership experience, and that's why we're eminently qualified.
One of the things you just mentioned is the dangers of Islam and radical Islam. So coming up, I'm going to ask you a little bit more about that. It is 7:45. Real quick, time to check the roads on WTN. As far as your weather goes, today partly sunny, a high around 90. Saturday, cloudy with scattered showers and storms, a high of 88. Sunday, clouds and a high of 80. Appreciate you listening. John Henry is running for the 6th. And so, John, you brought up the issue of Islam and the dangers within radical Islam. So talk a little bit about what we can do about it.
Sure. I sincerely believe that people need to stop with the Islam is a religion. It's not a religion. It's its own government. It has its own laws. We saw that with Sharia
John,
law. Yes.
It's a religion of peace. Come on.
No. Well, from somebody that's been on the ground in the Middle East, I can tell you it's not a religion of peace. It's not a religion at all. It's actually a government. It is a philosophy. It's a thought process that has its own laws. And Muslim Brotherhood, I'll just be honest with you, Muslim Brotherhood, we've seen, they make it very clear, we will not take America over by force. We will take it over by the ballot box. Our campaign has been talking about this the whole time. In 20 years, every single race, from dog catcher to governor, will have a Muslim running in those races. I mean, we see it now across the country.
Look at Minnesota.
Absolutely.
Look at Minneapolis, Minnesota. That is with all the Somalians.
Yes.
That is what they do. And the part of the problem, not to get sidetracked, but part of the problem is that people don't vote. Like people that are born here, they don't realize the opportunity and the importance of voting. And so these folks come in and they'll either, they come in through visas and that kind of a thing, and they know what to do. And you just said it. And they go to the ballot box and they vote.
Absolutely. And we see the media as one of our main issues. If you talk about socialism or communism, but we never have native-born Cubans who've become Americans talk about it. Why aren't they always, on the interviews saying, hey, communism doesn't work, socialism doesn't work, that's why I'm here. We never hardly ever interview those types of people to give the young people real world experience of why you shouldn't be saying the words communism, socialism, and how it's a bad idea. And we want to continue to make awareness of that. That's very important for us.
One of the things that we talk about, of course, when it comes to the 6th, we do have a lot of growth going on inside the 6th Congressional District. And it is, I think, one of the more challenging aspects of living, for example, where I live in Mount Juliet or Lebanon. So talk a little bit about how we manage that growth.
Well, I think people have the best intentions in their heart, right? For our campaign, the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is our navigator in everything we do. And I think most people are like that. So they want to have the empathy. They want to have for people who are coming here. And I realize that. But our laws are our laws for a reason. And we need to make sure, we need to educate people on our laws. Just like we say, illegal immigration, it's illegal. So anybody that came here during the Biden administration has to leave our shores. Let's be honest. You have to come in through the legal terms. And that's one of the big issues we see in society today is they just want to let everybody stay, and that just can't happen. It changes our culture, right? And we see that culture change. We want to keep our Tennessee culture. Everything that we see across the United States have different cultures, but our American culture, based on the Lord, based on our God-given rights, is very important. And I think sometimes we see that slipping away with the vernacular we just talked about with socialism and communism and these people thinking it's great to take other people's property or things of that nature. Our forefathers never saw that. So we believe that education is huge. We need to get back to true education, holding these colleges accountable for what these teachers are teaching our children. And that's a big issue for us, Dan, is 95% of all children must go through the public school system. What are they being taught? And it's an issue for both you and I. We both have children or grandchildren in public schools. So these schools, these colleges need to be held accountable so that our culture does not change in America. From what our founding fathers established this country as, and I think that's one of the biggest things when you talk about how can you help other people understand, is get back to teaching civics and real world history and Tennessee history and United States history the way it was supposed to be taught so people can be aware that this is the last beacon of hope, Dan. This is it. America is the last beacon of independence and hope in our lifetime.
I think part of as you're running for the 6th Congressional District, John Henry is joining us. That seems to be something that we all, at least as a party, regardless of who it is, we do need to focus on educating the next generation because, you talk to some of these kids and it's shocking at how little they know and what they believe America's past is all about and should be focused on, and that's some of the DEI stuff and the incessant focus on slavery and that kind of a thing. It's so frustrating because, we know that America is a great country. Unfortunately, the other side, there's a lot of these teachers, obviously not all, but there's some teachers in the bigger cities who, if the kids actually decide to show up that day, like in a place like Memphis where there's a lot of absenteeism, they learn that America, is an evil city, an evil country, and that is so frustrating.
It's true, and it's the third pillar of our campaign is education, and we believe education be decentralized all the way down to the school board level. That's why we had school board elections. Is we want our people in our local areas, our local communities, to make regulations and policies for education. It should not be the U.S. government. It shouldn't even be the state. And I formed Secretary McMahon. I think Trump has appointed her as Secretary of Education to bring education back down to the state level. But obviously, Dan, I think it should go lower than that. I think our school boards should be responsible for all curriculum, all textbooks, where they come from, and what they teach at the local level.
Well, and you mentioned the school boards, and it's a great point, although look at what's happening in Memphis. They've got a school board that is absolutely, and I realize that's not part of your district that you're running for, but, look at Memphis, where they've got a corrupt school board, and they clearly, I don't believe that they care about the kids. The state actually had to take it over. So on the one hand, I see what you're saying about the school boards, but on the other hand, some of these school boards are terrible.
Right. That one little blue dot we used to have right there in Tennessee cannot have any reflection across across Tennessee, right? Each Tennessee school board should be responsible for their own, and that way 99% of Tennessee would not be affected by that one little part of Memphis. And I think that's our big issue, is it's spread across all the testing going on. The testing is just rampant craziness. Teachers can't be teachers. We believe all the way down to the lesson plan, where a teacher assesses their students. They make the lesson plan for those students, and they're responsible for it, not this crazy curriculum coming down from our United States government down to the state level and down to the school level. It's getting pretty bad out there, to be honest with you.
All right, real quick, we've got about 1 minute left, so let's talk about your 60-second elevator pitch from John Henry running for the 6th.
Well, as you all see, I am the grassroots campaign. I'm running on policy. I think you'll see my competitors pretty light on the policy piece. We're big on bringing agriculture back to the local level. We believe food security here in America is significant. We also believe the industry. We have very poor areas in Tennessee. We need to bring industry back. After NAFTA offshored most of our industry in Tennessee, we want to bring that back. And our education piece that Dan and I just talked about, that has to change immediately. So when I'm your U.S. Congressman, that's the policies I'll be supporting and pushing. And you can bet, as someone who is not a politician, I'll definitely bring a different flavor to your options that you have next, let's say the next 2 days. You have early voting, and next Thursday, August the 6th, you'll get to vote for United States Marine and not the normal politician.
So you're not a politician, so you've been through now this, you're a couple of days away from the finish of early voting, then, on August 6th. Just from a personal level, how have you liked campaigning? Is this what you thought that it would be?
It is, and my wife and I have been on this campaign trail for 14 months. She's been by my side. She's spoken a number of times. We win about every straw poll when we're able to speak before our two opponents. People love our message. We just don't have that $1 million that you're getting to hear. All the commercials and see all the flyers and the mailers come out. You're not going to see that from us because we don't believe in bothering people. We know that we are one of our constituents. That's what we pride ourselves on, and we run a campaign exactly like Dan Mandis would, or anybody else in the 6th District. You would run it like this. No special interest money, no PAC money, and work hard, and we've done that over 14 months. So I'm grateful to have been out there for 14 months, seeing the people of the 6th District in all levels, from businesses down to the trailer parks. I'm all about it.
All right, 754, what's your website real quick, John Henry?
Henry for Congress, both there and Facebook, Henry for Congress.
Henry?
Yes. All right. And not the number 4, the word 4, Henry 4, FOR.
All right, very good. John, good luck on the 6th. Good luck in the next couple of days, and we'll return next. Joan's got the news coming up at 8. Joan.
Yeah, license plate readers have just hit on a man who was wanted out of Indiana. He was here in the Nashville area. I've got that story at 8 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dan Mandis here for the Covered Patio. And listen, warmer weather means you want to spend more time outside. Fall is coming, by the way, and I can't wait. That's actually, I don't know about you, friends, but my favorite patio season is the fall. It's getting cooler. It'll eventually get cooler, and you'll want to spend more time on your outdoor patio. And if you don't have one, well, then maybe they can build you one. Again, the Covered Patio, they specialize in building or upgrading your patio. They've got motorized screens so that you can easily keep the patio open when you want some sun and closed when you want some shade, so your back screened-in porch becomes a lot more enjoyable. Now, they've got a ton of outdoor living options with motorized screens, patio covers, custom wooden decks, and outdoor structures. They've got a ton of options with styles for every budget. Now, the Covered Patio, they're dedicated to fair prices and customized solutions for your specific home and space. So enjoy your home a lot more with an incredible patio upgrade from the Covered Patio. Reach out to them at 615-695-2407. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. 615-695-2407. Online, thecoveredpatio.com.
Good morning, I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. In Spanish, Socialist Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has arrived now in Ceuta, the site of that mass invasion of Moroccan Islamists. It's safe to say his arrival is not a welcome one. Residents of that seaside village outraged over their town being overrun intentionally by foreigners. It comes after a recent Spanish Supreme Court ruling that limits the immediate return of migrants who arrive by sea without due process. Meantime, Niall Gardner, who served as an advisor to British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, speaking to Fox News.
This is without a doubt, it's a huge warning to the United States. If you put socialists in power, they will literally destroy America. They will destroy the United States. They'll open the borders, and we will see these kinds of disastrous scenes unfolding here in America if the American people allow the socialists to take power.
Now, Spain reports 34 people have died while crossing the waterway between Spain and Morocco. Many have drowned. Others were killed in the stampede of invaders pushing into that small town. A team of 10 climbers, including one American, is missing after a reported avalanche on a mountain in Pakistan where they were climbing. Now, the team from the Alpine Club reports that they have lost contact with the expedition. A ground team is searching. Pakistan's military has also sent helicopters. So far, no sign of that team. A man who had been on the run for 6 days from Indiana police has been arrested in Mount Juliet. The police department there reporting license plate readers picked up that stolen car the man was driving on Lebanon Road yesterday. He was spotted by police and arrested. The man will be extradited back to Indiana to face charges of bodily injury and theft, among others. And a young Tullahoma man has been identified as the motorist who died in a crash on I-65 in Nashville this week. News 2's Nicole Smith.
Police say 19-year-old Jason Bungaris Kinney of Tullahoma tried to pass between two trucks that were traveling side by side. Officers say the motorcyclist crashed into the back of one of those trucks.
He's taken to TriStar Skyline Medical Center but died during the night. Money News brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Apple CEO Tim Cook holding his final earnings call yesterday, saying that the company has big opportunities in AI. Apple's current hardware chief, John Ternus, will take over in September. Right now, stock futures are on the plus side. Dow futures are up 184 points. That's the latest news. We've got traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. It's a crash in Talbot's Corner, 65 South before the downtown I-65 exit this morning. That crash is off on the right shoulder. Now on Bell Road in Nashboro Village, there's a crash at Nashboro Boulevard. In Laverne, it's I-24 eastbound at Waldron Road. You'll find a stalled out vehicle in the left lane. And Belmont 16th Avenue South at Wedgwood Avenue, a crash. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.806 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, Joan, you know, Sam, I really like talking to people.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to do an interview for a long time just because I've done so many of them. And it's nothing against like the people that I've interviewed. Every single one of the people that I've interviewed, I really genuinely like. And you know what the problem is? Whether it is the governor's race or, you know, the 6th congressional district, with the exception of Van Hillary, you know, I like everyone that I have interviewed. And so, but we also got to face facts that not everybody is going to win their respective races. And so I don't know who's going to win the 6th, if it's going to be Johnny Garrett or if it's going to be John Henry, perhaps Van Hillary, who knows. But I'll be happy for the winner and I'll be sad for the loser. Do you know what I mean? Like when you get to know these people, I don't know whether Monty Fritz is going to win or lose. I really like Monty. Am I going to vote for him? I don't know. And I still don't know, and I don't want to get into it, people. But I really like Monty Fritz. And if he doesn't win, I'm going to feel really bad for Monty Fritz. John Henry, who just left. If John doesn't win, I'm going to feel really bad for John because he's a good human being. And that's what I meant when yesterday I talked about how in the primaries, and I think this year, more than other years, I think we have had such an embarrassment of riches of really good conservatives that I have particularly enjoyed, and I don't know how you feel about this, Joan, but I have particularly enjoyed getting to know all of these candidates. And I don't know a primary season, I'm going to be honest, I don't know of a primary season that I've enjoyed more than this one. Because I got to meet people like John Henry and Butch Baker. And I already know, of course, Mark Pody and, you know, some of these other folks that have been here for a long time. I've been doing this a minute or two here in Tennessee. But some great conservatives here.
One of the things that strikes me about all these guys that you've had in, and I can't think of anyone that doesn't fit this qualification, but they all seem to be very natural. Like there's nothing pretentious about them. They're very genuine in their approach in their campaigns. They are who they are. And there's nothing, you know, nobody's holding, you know, hot sauce in their purses. Like there's none of that. They're very genuine.
There's no hot sauce in their purses. You know what? I didn't ask John Henry if he had any hot sauce in his purse.
Yeah, but if you did, he might have slugged you.
Well, you know, he is a Marine, and if I asked him if he had any hot sauce in your purse, yeah, you're probably right. You know, I often make the joke with Marines that they could kill me with their pinky finger.
Yeah.
See, Joan laughs. They never laugh. They always look at me like really serious. So
it's because they're thinking of which pinky they should use.
It's exactly. You know what? They could probably, you know, do I have to use my good hand pinky? I could probably take him with my lesser hand pinky. Anyway, so this was a really interesting story. This came down here. It's a story that's been going on in Georgia. And Joan, I don't know if you have been paying attention to this story, but the story of Colt Gray, this kid who, I think he was 13 or 14 at the time, or maybe he was even younger than that, but a school shooting in Georgia. He killed 2 students and he killed 2 adults as well in Georgia. And this was one of the first cases of its kind where the father was so incredibly negligent as far as watching his kid that the father was actually brought up on charges as well. Colt is now 16, so I don't know when exactly this part of the story was, but he faced 55 felony counts, including 4 counts of malice murder and a whole bunch of other things. So he was ultimately sentenced now to basically life in prison. But they also charged his father because his father, knowing that his son had some serious mental illness problems and he was being supposedly bullied in the school and everything else, his father chose to give him a gun for Christmas, even though he knew that the police had arrived at their home asking him about a threat that Colt had made to shoot up a middle school, among other things. And how bad was this? It was so bad that even the ex-wife and the mother of Colt, so Colt's mom and the ex-wife of the father, told the father, Colin, you've got to get rid of the guns, you've got to lock them up, and you've got to get our son help. Did the father do it? No. The father's daughter, the sister to Colt, begged the dad, hide the guns, put away the guns, and get my brother some help. Did Colin, the father, do it? No. He gave him a gun for Christmas, and he used that gun to shoot up a school. And so now the father, of course, is, and by the way, you folks know how much of a 2A supporter I am, but this father had so many warning signs, and he knew that there were problems. He knew, for example, need some audio, he knew that when the police came back in 2023, that his son seemingly had made the threat.
Saying that somebody from your old address over there in Traditions had made a threat to shoot up a school. For real? Yes, sir. And do you have weapons in the house? I do. Are they accessible to him?
They are. I mean, there's nothing loaded, but they are down. We do a lot of shooting. We do a lot of deer hunting. He shot his first deer this year, so like I'm pretty much in shock, to be honest with you. Well, I'm a little pissed off, to be even really honest with you.
So that is the dad, Colin, telling law enforcement that he had no idea that his son had said this or may have said it. Now, again, realize this is about a year before the actual shooting.
I don't know anything about him saying like that, and I'm going to be mad as hell if he did. And then all the guns will go away, and they won't be accessible to him. I'm trying to be honest with you. I'm trying to teach him about firearms and safety and how where this is coming from is no joke.
Yeah.
Like, it's no joke.
Well, we wouldn't be here if it was.
No, I know. And I'm telling you right now, we talk about it quite a bit. All the school shootings, things that happen.
Yeah.
Hey, are you getting picked on at school? He is.
So when they spoke to Cole, because Cole then came out, he did deny it. One of the things that, as the father has now been sentenced to 15 years in prison, as well as Colt, who is going to spend a lifetime in prison, well, the impact statements were amazing. And just to let you know how angry these folks feel, not only at Colt, but also at his father, Colin, this is part of one of the impact statements from a grandfather whose granddaughter was killed by Colt.
After all the testimony I've heard, witnessed, I find it hard to believe that you had any idea of what you were doing or raising a son. To your ineptitude, your lack of situational awareness, you're responsible for all this that happened. I can't see it any other way. And I hope to God that you sit somewhere in a corner and just remember everything that you're responsible for.
I mean, those impact statements, and the audio is unfortunately terrible, so that's the only part that I can play. But apparently Colt had a shrine to school shooters in his room. His dad said he had no idea about this shrine. That's disturbing.
insane.
A disturbing text from Colt to his father 3 weeks before the shooting. Colt texted his father, "Whenever something happens, just know the blood is on your hands." Also, the school called the father a week before the shooting and told him that Colt spent hours in the counselor's office because he was extremely anxious, crying, and fragile. The school counselor calls the dad, Colin, puts him in touch with an in-school counseling program, but prosecutors say that Colin never did call those counselors. And the school is like, look, we put the dad on notice. His son needs immediate help, and the dad didn't do anything. The father at one point did call a counseling service, and here's the message that he left. You ready? He said, "We have a very difficult past couple of years with my son. He needs help. He's got anger. He's got anxiety. He's quick to be volatile." The dad said, "I don't know what to do. I mean, I've got an idea. Maybe make sure the guns are packed away." But when the authorities show up at the house, you know what they found in the kid's room, in Colt's room?
What's that?
They found all kinds of equipment related to the rifle. They found the box that it was in. They found some of the accessories to the gun as well. They found the empty rifle case in Colt's bedroom, along with a rifle sling. Again, shooting accessories and targets, suggesting that the rifle had been stored in Colt's room and not the father's room, like the father was saying. It was, by the way, a 6-hour M400 for you folks who are curious. So there were no gun safes in the home. The firearms apparently were not secured with locking devices. And, clearly you get where the prosecution was going. And the father was found guilty as well of just a ton of charges. Now, one of the things that they're saying is that this could have implications on other cases as well. We'll talk about that straight ahead. It is 8:16, time to check the roads on WTN. As far as weather goes, it is going to be nice today, partly sunny, high around 90. Saturday, cloudy with scattered showers and storms with a high of 88. Sunday, cloudy and high of 80. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So part of what the jury was thinking about, I should say, the prosecution's theory as it relates to Colt, the kid, and Colin, the father, is that Colt was able to take the rifle from his bedroom or from an unsecured location he had access to without any barrier preventing him from leaving the house with it. The defense argued, of course, that there is no proof that Colin knew that Colt would take the rifle to school or commit a mass shooting. The jury found that Colin's handling, the father, Colin's handling of the firearm amounted to criminal negligence under Georgia law. Now, you know what I hope? I hope that this is just the tip of the iceberg. I hope that, because we've all seen the videos, we've all talked about this before, where you see all of these social media fueled teen takeovers, where you see your 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-olds, and they're doing important things. And you see a 14-year-old, a 13 or a 14-year-old who is running around the streets of Nashville or running around the streets of wherever it is, and they're shooting other people or they're shooting at other gang members, and they're dumb A's, and so they shoot sideways like they do sometimes, and they take out an innocent person, take out a little kid in a car seat, which we saw in Nashville years ago. Then yeah, I think the parents ought to be charged as well. If you're dumb enough, as a parent, if you're dumb enough to allow your 12, 13, 14-year-old to run around with guns at 2 or 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and they're out shooting up places, then yeah, maybe you ought to be charged as well. At least that's my opinion on the situation. But this has been, very controversial because you have a lot of people that are saying there's no way that a parent should be charged for the crimes of their kid. I think that if there's a parent that is as negligent as this father was, and I realize we're talking about two different levels, right? I mean, this father, I don't know about you, Joan, this father clearly, I don't know if you could get any more negligent. The wife told him, the sister told him, everybody was telling him, even the cops were telling him, lock up the guns, your son needs help. And clearly the father didn't listen, Joan.
He didn't listen. I fear, though, that this is going to set a precedent that will imprison parents who are not quite as egregious as this guy. Like, right. I think it's clear that this guy was not just negligent, but that he was purposely turning a false closed eye to what his son was doing.
It's got to be really egregious.
Yes,
that's my point. It's got to be really egregious, and obviously, Sam, it's going to be a case by case basis.
Well. I think the egregious, we've got the line now. You should not buy your 14-year-old a 30-round capacity 5.56 AR. You shouldn't. That's if you buy one for yourself and you train your kid how to use it, and then it goes in your safe in your room that you have the code to, that's a different story. I mean, the first gun I ever shot around that age was a 22 bolt action rifle. Yeah, could you do some damage with that? Absolutely, but the efficacy of what this 6 Sauer M400 can do is, I mean, he enabled him. He directly enabled him, and it's the first time a parent has ever been convicted of second-degree murder in this country as a result of their child's actions with a firearm.
It's crazy,
and it's a very deserving case for that. He was living in denial that there was something. Well, maybe if I just kept. You listen to that interview with police, but just want to educate him on firearms. He was in denial actively that, well, if I just continue to educate him, he'll get that this is a tool meant to be used for, self-protection.
Right.
And it just, it did not track. He needed to be institutionalized.
The father was saying all the right things.
Mm-hmm. But his actions were lacking.
Yeah, I'm trying to teach my son about firearms. Love that. That is a great thing. And by the way, people are asking if Colt was trans. No, he was not trans as far as I know. There was a lot of online rumors at the time that he was, but from what I understand, he was not trans. He was, however, gay, and word is that he was being picked on because he was gay. I don't know about any of that because I don't care if you're trans. I don't care if you're being picked on. I don't care. You don't have the right to take out, 4 people and injure 9 others.
He apparently was obsessed with fame in the true crime community.
Oh yeah, he as I said, he had that shrine, and he was, do you know the one, I don't know about Columbine, but he was truly inspired and fascinated by the Parkland shooter, whose name, I don't know. Joan, do you remember the Parkland shooter? I don't remember, but this was apparently the one that he had a shrine to.
Nicholas Cruz.
Yes, Nicholas Cruz. So, and whatever. I mean, this dude.
I mean, that's just gross.
Yeah. No, it is absolutely gross. So anyway, I like this, and I realize that there's going to be people, and I'm looking at the super text line. Some people are saying, well, let's see what slippery. So everybody, Joan, is slippery sloping on me, which is fine. Totally get it.
Yeah.
30-46. That's where you went, and I appreciate that. That's why it's got to be egregious. And there's got to be guardrails, obviously. 3046 says, you are on the wrong side of this, Dan. The father should not be imprisoned. This is a very slippery slope. Totally get it.
Well, and you've got that much history of him making a threat and his sister, his mother being worried about his mental state. That's completely different than having no idea that your kid was going to take a gun to school and shoot the place up.
Right.
And the way Georgia was able to kind of stack these charges against the father, they were able to prove that he, was recklessly endangering children, which is how they're able to tie that reckless endangerment to children to second-degree murder to involuntary manslaughter. And unless he has some kind of smoking gun, no pun intended, in appeals, he's going to be spending 15 years in prison, deservedly so.
Yeah, and his lawyer is appealing this, and we'll see where it goes. This all just came down yesterday. Okay, running late, 8:25. Joan's got the news at 8:30. Joan.
Yeah, coming up here, we'll tell you why a lot of people are calling Kamala Harris a hypocrite today.
Oh, my favorite story.
Oh, yeah.
Sam and I were just dishing about this during the break, so...
Yeah, it's coming up at 8:30 here. You're going to love it. It's coming up at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. At least 34 people have now died as tens of thousands of Moroccans rush the border of the tiny Spanish territory of Ceuta. It's situated on the African coast and borders Morocco. Now, some of them came through the gated area. Many others, though, entered via the sea. They swam from nearby Moroccan shores.
The flood of migrants comes just weeks after Spain's Supreme Court ruled migrants who reach Ceuta by sea cannot immediately be returned to their home countries without due process. The White House responding saying, President Trump has long warned Europe what would happen if they continue to implement far-left globalist policies, including enabling mass migration. Italy's prime minister also reacting, threatening to suspend an agreement with Spain that allows travel between most European countries without routine border controls.
UBC's Sophie Flay there. There are estimates that 50,000 Moroccans flooded that town. President Trump floating the idea of withdrawing Todd Blanche's nomination for Attorney General after two soon-to-be departing Republican senators said that they would hold up the nomination. ABC's Catherine Falders reports the pair of holdouts finally held a meeting with Todd Blanche yesterday.
For the first time this week, after many canceled meetings, that acting Attorney General Todd Blanche did in fact meet with Cornyn and Tillis just moments ago. The meeting did not happen here on Capitol Hill. It was off campus, so out of view, despite being outside the senators' offices. So we didn't see the meeting occur, but they have met. I'm also told by sources that they believe they are closer. What that means is unclear at this point, considering there's been a great deal of back and forth. But the reality is the Senate here is gone, so they would have to get this done on Monday, and then maybe they could get Blanche confirmed by the August recess, which begins next week.
Now, the two had been demanding that Todd Blanche provide in writing that the anti-weaponization fund that President Trump wanted is officially dead. Blanche had been contending that he's already given them verbal assurances. And Kamala Harris is known for being very vocal about racial disparities. Well, now the former vice president has just bought a new mansion in California situated in a nearly all-white neighborhood. It's a $4,000 square foot property purchased for more than $8 million. It has ocean views, multiple wine fridges. Why would she have that? Private golf greens and enough parking for 5 cars. Census numbers show that the Point Dume neighborhood is 94% white and 0.2% black. Money News brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. And stocks trading now in the Dow Jones Industrials opened 188 points higher. The NASDAQ is up 284. S&P 500 index plus 46 right now. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 8:34, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Summertime, and it does feel great outside, of course. Maybe you bought some new clothes, but you also might feel that same old discomfort when it comes to selfies and vacation photos. You know, we used to call that photo fear. I think they still do. But, you know, my friends at Contours, they can help you. You know, Contours red light treatments, they can help tighten skin and melt that stubborn fat fast without surgery, without complications, pain, or downtime. Now, red light technology, it is all the rage these days because it does work. Now, you can restore your confidence and become, as we say, photo ready with Contours LLC. Check them out, contoursllc.com. Right now, they've got a great deal going on. Again, featuring that red light technology. It is all the rage because it works. Now, Matt Murphy and I both have been going to Contours, and we both love it. We've got a special going on right now. $99 is going to get you that Belly Buster Special. $99 gets you that Belly Buster Special. You've got to call right now. The first 10 callers, 615-236-9960. 615-236-9960 does get that Belly Buster Special. Now, listen to this. For just $149, you can get both a Belly Buster Special and a facial, both featuring that red light technology, FDA cleared red light technology, 615-236-9960, contoursllc.com. Dan Mann is here, and don't forget, a week from Saturday, so a week from tomorrow, it is O-Site Optics Saturday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Glock store. What is it you say, Chris? Big hype?
Big hype?
We are big hyping on the, now can you say big hyping?
I would stick with big hype.
Big hype, all right, sorry. Big hype. O-Site Optics Saturday.
Come on, get on track, Dan. Talk about our guys at the Glock store. We love the Glock store.
We love the Glock store. Their reviews on these O-Site optics, they've been incredible. On Saturday, the 8th of August, they're going to have representation on site to show you just how good these O-Site optics are at the Glock store. They've always got great events at the Glock store, of course. Now, they'll have the complete line of O-Site optics on display, plus a bunch of terrific deals as well. You're going to get some raffle tickets and some O-Site swag as well. You've got to get there early because the best selection is going to be available the earlier that you get there. Remember, it begins at 9 a.m. It's going to go till 6. Next Saturday, the 8th of August, that's going to be a week from tomorrow. They're going to have food trucks, they're going to have guns, and they're going to have O-Site optics only at the Glock store. Details, glockstore.com, shoot270.com. The Glock store, minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere.
Okay, watch it northbound on I-65 this morning in Franklin. You've got a crash. It's on the right shoulder just past I-840. In West Nashville, it's a crash on Charlotte's Pike at I-40 and a crash in Belmont as well. 16th Avenue South at Wedgwood Avenue. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$8:39, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Text line is open, 615-737-9986. 615-737-WWTN. Time for the crisscross handoff. Hello, Chris.
Sam is he asleep at the wheel back there?
Yeah, I don't know.
We just had regular music today. We didn't have some funky hip-hop anthem.
You know what? I didn't feel any big hype.
We didn't have any Amish paradise? Nothing like that?
Apparently not. Way to
and
go, Sam.
He's silent to boot.
Silent Sam. Oh, that's what we need to call Sam. Silent Sam.
He's pleading the fifth.
Sam, plead. You know what? Why don't you say, Sam, respectfully on advice of counsel.
Respectfully on advice of counsel.
Mm-hmm.
I plead the fifth.
All right, very good. So Kamala Harris bought I don't know if you heard the news, Chris, is it? Kamala Harris bought a 4,000 square foot, $8 million home in literally an all-white neighborhood. Do you know what my question, Joan? You had the numbers of the amount of percentage of black folks in
94% white.
Yeah.
0.2% black.
So was that before she moved in? So is she now the 0.2%?
I think she had to lean into the Indian heritage to move into that neighborhood. Apparently.
Oh yeah.
What would you do if you were a conservative and Kamala Harris moved in next door?
I wouldn't encourage my children to egg her property and toilet paper the trees.
Do you know what?
I wouldn't treat her front yard as my dog's sole potty spot.
Trick or treat would take a whole new meaning.
There's a lot of things I know I wouldn't do, you know? And telling the kids to egg the house is definitely not something I would do.
Do you know what? She still has Secret Service. No, does she have as a VP?
I thought they scrapped that, right?
You know what? I think Trump did scrap that.
I think
actually
he said no, nobody cares about you.
Well, so I've got a couple of questions. Number one is, how many wine cellars does Kamala Harris need?
All of them.
According to Jones reporting, she's got more than one.
I'm curious how she can afford this $8 million mansion after she bankrupted the entire Democrat Party
Yes.
with her horrendous campaign. Shouldn't she?
Great point.
Shouldn't she be paying some of that money back after how disastrously she ran that campaign?
Did they ever actually pay all that off? They must have.
Well, the DNC, they just had to put their headquarters up as collateral.
$20 million in debt.
Yeah, and that was to get they wanted a $15 million loan. So they had to put their headquarters up as collateral.
What a bunch of F-tards. Can I say that on the radio?
I think you can.
Okay.
I think you just did.
And the funny part is, this is before socialism is completely taken over. That's just regular Democrats.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. So, yeah, it'll be fun to see if she actually has, what would you get Kamala? What would you get Kamala Harris as a housewarming gift? I would get her an auto pen. Would that be funny?
How about a Glock-shaped wine bottle opener?
Sure, you could get her a wine bottle opener just to lean into the alcoholism. Do you think she'll get a? Was it the housekeeper that Dougie there cheated on Kamala with? Was it the housekeeper or the?
It was the nanny.
The nanny. Okay. Well, I think
It'd be a little weird if Doug hired a nanny now. I mean, all of his kids are a little bit older. We got to get a nanny. I'm telling you.
Well, Doug's
a dog walker.
Doug's living in New York for some highfalutin law firm because he's an attorney. So there's that aspect of it too. So, by the way, did you see the latest Mamdani thing? Just real quick.
Is this about how the 9/11 families don't want him around?
No, I've covered that. Mamdani sparks outrage by promoting a new law that is set to increase tips for food delivery drivers.
So you have to tip? How would it increase tips? I thought tipping was my decision.
The New York City mayor is promoting a law that forces delivery apps to stop hiding tip buttons for drivers, which critics say could drive up food costs. They say that Mamdani's team has been responsible for implementing the legislation after it was passed but not signed by Eric Adams last year. So I guess Uber Eats and DoorDash were accused by the city's Department of Consumer and Worker Protection of using hidden tip buttons and defaulting gratuity to 10%. Mamdani claimed that this practice saw drivers and other delivery workers' tips go down by 79%.
I feel like this is ridiculous and a waste of money to even be going down this road because I don't do Uber Eats all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I've ever had a hard time figuring out where the tip thing is.
No, I've never had a hard time figuring out where the tip thing is either. So
someone pointed this out. Don't you normally put the tip in before you even get your food?
Yeah.
So how do you know if they're really worthy of a tip if the job hasn't been done yet?
Sure.
Good point.
That is a very good point. We had in my house last weekend. Oh, should I even do this?
Now you have to.
No, you know what?
No, come on.
I love when he does this to himself.
He wades in knee deep, and then it's like, it's too cold. I gotta go.
Yeah.
So, do you actually go grocery shopping or do you order groceries?
We order them.
Okay, so it's not just me. Sometimes we order.
I have 4 kids. Do you know the amount of impulse purchasing that we have to deny if we walk into that grocery store?
That's true. Self-preservation.
So, but you bring up a great point, which is on Sunday, we had what I believe is the world's worst shopper for Kroger. And so we ordered the groceries, and it was like she wasn't even trying to find the items that we ordered. And so, she just, instead of getting me a different kind of coffee, she literally did not get me any coffee.
See,
Who does that?
I would prefer that.
So, not me, because...
No, a lot of people's preferences are way off. I'm very picky.
Well, typically, from what I understand, and Amy's the one that actually does these things, but they will say, can we replace your coffee with this other brand?
Right.
And so And so Amy always says yes. But the point is that she didn't deserve a tip. That was the thing, is that this shopper, whoever it was, didn't deserve a tip. We gave her a tip, but it was a begrudging tip. You know what I mean? Like, I still feel sort of, I don't know, obligation to give someone a decent tip just because I didn't have to get out of my pajamas on Sunday morning.
It was simpler back in the late 90s, early 2000s when the pizza man was coming, and you, depending on how long he took, you were taking that cash off the top.
30 minutes or less.
Yeah, there is that. Are you? Do you consider yourself a tipper? Do you base it on whether or not they've done a good job? Like, would you ever be? And I'm going to go around the room. Joan, Sam, and Chris. Would you ever give a penny tip?
I wouldn't give a penny
tip. No,
I feel like that's disrespectful. I would just give no tip at all.
But see, if you're ticked off at your server, leaving a penny tip actually lets them know that they shanked it.
That's not how they see it.
That's not how they see it?
Having been the server with the ticket book in my hand, it's not how it comes across.
How does it come across with a penny tip?
You are a petty, insecure incel who doesn't have the money to fork over a decent tip.
Well, now, just so we're clear, I've never left a penny tip.
No, I mean proverbial third person you, not you.
I just want to make sure.
Lest I should be called an incel.
Anyway, Joan, how about you? Would you ever leave a penny tip? Now,
no, not a penny tip. I've been a waitress. I was a waitress for years, and that's a horrible thing to do to somebody. But the waitress also knows when their service has gone horribly wrong. Like, they feel it. They know it. They know that the table is not happy. So, you know, it part of what you're doing is not just serving well, but also being an engaging human being.
Joan, you could back me up on this, and I would say 50% of the time you don't get a good tip. It's probably the kitchen's fault.
Yeah,
there's something to do in the kitchen that you've got no control over. So when you, as the server, get treated like crap for something that's completely out of your control, then you.
But what if the server? What if the server is like horrible? Like, where it's like, are they doing this on purpose?
I had a server one time, I will not name the restaurant, and she was clearly on something opioid related. Could not follow a thought, could not keep notes correctly at all.
Right.
I finally called the manager over. I'm like, you need to send her home, and you need to have someone come pick her up to do that because she could not drive a car herself. I was mortified that someone put her out on the floor. Yes.
You ratted her out?
Snitches get stitches.
Snitches absolutely get stitches,
We were in a relatively
Joan.
nice restaurant that served alcohol, and this person appeared to be on some sort of heavy suppressant.
Joan, you and I can no longer arrive at work drunk. We know that Sam's going to turn us in.
Man.
Sam would work for the FBI and narc all of us out. We just learned that.
Yep.
For the opportunity to have a badge, possibly.
Well, here's the deal. And people are sour on tipping because tipping has gotten out of control. I think we all know that.
Yes.
You know, you go to a coffee shop and they turn the stupid thing around and it's like, it's going to ask you a question. You know what I mean?
Well, I also get very upset when, so the other day I was driving home and I picked up Pizza Hut for the gang, little stuffed crust, and I picked it up. So there should be no tipping involved.
Exactly.
They made it for you, Chris.
Yeah, and I paid for that.
But you don't tip.
The tip is for the delivery driver.
Yes.
So I found that to be...
I appreciate how Domino's did that whole, if you pick it up, you get $3 back. They'll give you a $3 credit to your next order.
Yes.
As in sparing the tip.
Interesting. I didn't know they did that.
I don't know if they still do it. They were running a promotion for a while.
All right. Hey, Chris, from what I understand, you have a vacation coming up. Will you be going to Ceuta?
Yeah.
I hear there's a lot going on out there in Ceuta, or however you want to say it. We've had during this radio broadcast 4 different pronunciations.
One of the things that I love about being an American is it doesn't matter how we pronounce it. It's España, but we just say Spain because we're based and we don't care. So it really doesn't matter. We could call it Cuda, we could call it Cheddar, we could call it whatever because we're America, damn it. And it really doesn't matter. So
that's right.
What I would say, though, is that...
By the way, earlier people were cutter-guitaring me.
Oh, were they?
Yeah. It's not Ceuta, Dan. It's, and then, like, everybody... And it's like, cutter guitar. I don't care.
No, nobody cares.
I don't care.
Nobody cares. Nobody cared. Nobody even knew this place existed until yesterday.
That's exactly right.
Other than the Moroccans, there was nobody that viewed it as a destination.
This is, and I'm sure you agree, that this is clearly an indication of what's going to happen if we end up with a bunch of leftists in office again.
Yes.
I mean, this is the direct result, because that's what they just had in Spain.
Well, because they did mass amnesty for all these people, and then they were like, what bad could happen? And it was like, just wait, hold my beer.
How is it Spain didn't see this coming?
They're
because we saw this during Biden.
Yeah.
I mean, I said this earlier today, and I'm glad this happened to Spain. I mean, I'm sorry for the people that are getting their cars torched and their cars taken over, and the women that are going to get raped by the Muslims. But I mean, I feel bad for all those people. But, for us, we are able to have a reminder of what the Biden administration was like and could be again under another Democrat.
I'm sure it's going to work out fine. I saw a video where all of these military-aged men were chanting Allahu Akbar in the streets. So they're just going to do the jobs that the Spaniards don't want to do, like beheading infidels.
And hey, listen, maybe all those people didn't actually vote for that socialist, communist prime minister. Maybe there were some people that signed up for driver's licenses and automatically received voter registration and actually went to the polls and voted. Yeah. Maybe there were ballot harvesting initiatives happening in Spain. These things, they happen.
Maybe they didn't have any voter ID in Spain.
Yeah.
The really funny part about this territory is that like half of the local government is Muslim already.
Well, give it time; they'll be fully Muslim in no time.
Yeah.
So
you get what you vote for. They're already talking about cutting them off of the free travel zone in Europe.
Yeah. The neighboring countries are going to start blocking their borders.
Build a wall.
Spain, you did this. Well, we're talking because this is like a little territory of Spain. So you've got the Strait of Gibraltar that is separating Ceuta from the mainland of Spain.
Ceuta.
That's the ninth different.
Ceuta? Is that what you're calling Ceuta? Okay, very good. Whatever. Anyway, we're Americans and we don't care. Is that what you said, Chris?
Yes, damn right.
So, Sam and I were talking during the break. It's like, just give it to them. Because they're not going to be able to get them out. The Muslims, you're not going to be able to get them out. The Moroccans.
And they won't do what needs to be done, which is mobilize the military and send them back on the boats via gunpoint.
Well, they can't because their Supreme Court said we're going to allow these people in. That's literally what the Supreme Court said.
An absolute mess.
So yeah, it isn't. I don't know what they were thinking, but you know what? Okay, so you know what? All of the migrants or immigrants who wanted to come to America after if the Democrats end up getting the White House coming up in 2028, just go to Ceuta. Just go to Ceuta.
Is it Spain that does the tapas when they're doing their late night meals? I think it's Spain.
I don't know.
They have to make them all halal.
Well, yeah, and I mean, at least they got the World Cup. I guess they've got that. They won the World Cup, right?
I don't know. I didn't pay attention because this is America. Damn it! I didn't buy into all the hype about soccer.
Wait.
And I actually got really anti-soccer because I was talking with Danielle Chaffin, who's going to be on the show today, my trucking expert, and she said, all the people that were coming in and loving America, well, they didn't leave. They got jobs in the trucking industry, and they decided to stay.
There you go. And I love her, by the way.
She's awesome.
Like she is amazing. All right, very good. Joan, real quick, what you got coming up?
Coming up here in the news, a case of stolen valor in West Tennessee, and now a woman is headed to prison. That's at 9 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 8:55. Dan Mandis here. For my friends at DT McCall's, listen, I call them my friends because I've spent some money at DT McCall's. As a matter of fact, I've got quite a few items from my home at DT McCall's over the past 12 years that I've been endorsing them. I am not only an endorser, but I'm also a customer of DT McCall's. They're always looking for ways to save you money. So what I want you to do is go to their website and check it out. It's dtmccalls.com. That is dtmccalls.com. If you need appliances, if you need furniture, if you need washer and dryer sets, refrigerator, office furniture, DT McCall's has everything you need at a great price and terrific customer service as well. Now remember, at DT McCall's. They have as many of their items made right here in Tennessee as possible. They've been around for generations. 100 years of treating people right. It is DT McCall's. 5 locations across Middle Tennessee: Carthage, Cookeville, Lebanon, Lafayette, and Franklin. Always online, dtmccalls.com.